It's great. It's like cities were burning down when my guys did it at the Capitol. Very, very respectfully, they burned it down, and they got arrested. She's so fucking heavy, it's crazy.
President Trump, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Thank you.
I want to dive right into this, a lot to get to.
Good.
There are a number of things that make your campaign unprecedented. You are the first former president to run for re-election in more than 100 years. You are facing 4 indictments. You have an incredibly significant lead in the GOP primary polls. But I want to ask you this, Mr. President. Why do you want to be president again?
Well, it's a very simple answer, and I can give it very easily. It's called Make America Great Again. Our country is in serious trouble. I don't think we've ever been so low in terms of certainly opinion, world opinion, and country opinion. People are devastated. They look at what's happening with millions of people coming in, millions of illegal immigrants coming into our country, flooding our cities, flooding the countryside. I think the number is going to be 15 million people by the time you end this. By the end of this year, I think the real number is going to be 15 million people. They come from prisons. They come from mental institutions, insane asylums. They say, sir, please don't use that term, but it's true. They're terrorists at a level. You know, it's very interesting. On NBC, I saw a poll, and I saw some statistics, and it said in 2019.
Just remember how, like, what size she was like 2-3 months ago. I feel like that might have been a little baby earthquake.
There were no terrorists. They caught no terrorists. There was nothing that they saw. There was no anything. And now, this year, it's a record number like they've never seen before. So we did a great job at the border. We did a great job with the military. We did a great job with inflation. We had essentially no inflation. We had a great economy. And we didn't have an Afghanistan disaster. We were getting out, but we were going to get out with dignity and pride, not the way they got out. That was
nothing better than Donald Trump being able to just like take this position where nothing more awesome than Donald Trump being able to take the position that he is like anti-war and like he wanted to get out of Afghanistan, which is popular, while simultaneously being like, I could have done it better. It's like, no, bitch, you wouldn't have done it at all. You had the shot. You didn't do it. It's crazy.
Surrender and an embarrassment and horrible. We gave $85 billion worth of equipment to the Taliban.
The worst part about this is that like the Afghanistan withdrawal was bad. It was always going to be bad in some ways. You can't just like leave a country after occupying it for 20 fucking years. But like the worst aspects of why it was bad never get covered. Like it's bad because there's no protection for the people of Afghanistan. It's bad because like we took their money and didn't give it. Like we still haven't given it back to them. It's bad because like we're refusing to allow like actual NGOs that used to operate in Afghanistan and continue operating in Afghanistan. You know what I mean? Like all this shit, like those are all the bad things. And except like when Donald Trump criticizes it, he's like, oh, it's bad because we left our weapons. It's like, no, man, that's not the bad part. Like that you fucking left behind all this junk that you always leave behind because logistically speaking, it's more expensive and more costly to just like ship them back. You know? It's so stupid.
We had death, so much death and so much horrible destruction. And it was a terrible thing. I think it was the lowest point in the history of our country. Now, with all of that, we can change it and we can make America great again. And that's why I'm doing this.
Well, and you have talked about a lot. We are going to delve into a number of issues you brought up. You talked about all the people coming across the border. Of course, a lot of families also coming across the border as well. I want to talk to you about that a little bit later on. But first, let's talk about the breaking news today. We learned just a short time ago that the president's son, Hunter Biden, was indicted by a federal grand jury on 3 gun charges. Given that, Mr. President, can you continue to say that there are 2 systems of justice?
Well, I think there's no question about it. He had a plea deal that was
I don't know, dude. I find it pretty bad that USA leaves weapons laying around like an odd sock. Bro, I think it was an earthquake. Am I crazy? Maybe I'm on high alert for no reason. Okay. Just Kyle laying down. Yeah. Probably. Okay. Fuck, what was I going to say? God damn it. Leaving equipment is the least of their worries. It's impossible to maintain without their expertise in the supply chain. Yeah. People talk about it. People talk about leaving weapons behind, like used socks or whatever. And it's really interesting because it's like, dog, you think the American military did not factor this in? You know what I mean? Like, you think the American military was like, oh man, fuck, we just decided to leave these guns behind. Like, no. What are you gonna, like, all of that requires a $1 trillion operation to keep it running. And even then, if you know anything about the fucking military, you know that even with the trillions of dollars of funding, especially overseas operations, are constantly fucking up. These guys didn't have support on their armored personnel carriers underneath the fucking cars. And they had like a ton of veterans, a ton of fucking active duty people on tour get their dicks blown off by fucking IEDs until they were like, oh yeah, I guess we have to like do something about that. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? They lost the fighter jet on U.S. soil literally today. Yes, part of the problem is like, it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter that, what do you call it? That they're leaving behind like old ass shit. Okay? It kind of doesn't matter. Like, it's not as big as a threat as you claim it is. Especially when considering the reality that we've given these guys like sidewinders and you know, like actual fucking anti-aircraft guns and trained them on it before the Afghan Civil War. Like, they used those against American military. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck are we talking about? It's not as big as a problem in the grand scheme of things, in the way that like Trump and others try to claim it is. I don't find it a threat to the U.S. government. It's just the more shitty anti-civilian actions. Yeah, man, it's crazy. Especially because like, you know, those guys who are anti-civilian, we train them, a lot of them, and we arm them, a lot of them. But they're not going to be able to like use the fucking attack helicopters or refuel them endlessly and like utilize it. That's my point. They usually scrap it before they leave it behind too, so.
The deal of the century, the art of the deal. You could write a book on it, the art of the deal. And all of a sudden that was broken up by a judge who was able to, a brilliant judge actually, who was able to see through what was happening.
3M gave their shitty ear protection to the people in service. Hella people lost hearing, and it's a big lawsuit now. American military doesn't even give a fuck where the money goes. I agree. Like, I think people greatly overemphasize the issue of leaving behind equipment. Not that it's a good thing, obviously, but I think people make it seem like that's a big problem for modern day Afghan existence. And it's like, you know what's a bigger problem? Billions of dollars of funds that we've seized and we're not giving back, and also not allowing NGOs to operate in the fucking region, okay? Those are significantly larger harms upon the Afghan civilian population, okay? If we gave a single shred of a fucking shit, we would do something to change that result, okay?
And it's a sad situation. I mean, nobody should be happy about this. I'm not happy about it. Nobody is.
Yeah, they need constant maintenance of specific parts that they can't get, but still, it's just ridiculous.
It's a very sad thing. It's so bad for our country. But, you know, if you think about it, I've been under investigation from the day I came down the escalator, and a phony investigation, fake investigations, investigations that I beat every single time, still under investigations. But it's a very sad thing, and it's a slippery slope, and dangerous, very dangerous for our country.
But you talked about the plea deal, but now Hunter Biden's been indicted. He's facing very serious charges. So doesn't that undercut your entire argument that there are two systems of justice in this country?
It's one of 12 charges. There are 12 possible charges.
And he's still under investigation.
This is the only charge that doesn't affect his father.
Well, he's still under investigation.
Well, sure, maybe. I mean, let's see what happens. But this is the only charge that doesn't affect Joe Biden. This was the gun charge. But gun charges are very serious. You know, people have had gun charges and gone to jail for a lot of years. I pardoned some people who I thought it was just horrible what happened, but they were put in jail for many, many years, rappers and others. So, look, it's a bad thing.
GOAT.
But it's one of 12. And it's the one.
He's trying to say the only thing that they're charging him on is an issue that, like, can't be tied back to Biden. That's what he's saying. He's complaining that, like, it's only the gun charge they're hitting him on because, like, he's claiming that there is, like, you know, a little bit of back and forth, maybe some wheeling and dealing happening with the prosecutors in the situation. Ironic because, like, the independent prosecutor is, like, a Trump appointee, but, you know.
Charge, it doesn't affect Joe Biden.
Well, of course, there's no evidence that the president has any link to his son's business dealings. Let me ask you, though,
I don't
second.
necessarily agree. He called in. You mean he called in all these meetings? He was calling in on the meetings. He was put on speakerphone and every single day. And
the witness
literally
testified.
many, many calls. And what about the fact that he got rid of the prosecutor for $1 billion?
Well, the witness
you
testified.
You don't get rid of this prosecutor. We're not giving you $1 billion to Ukraine. He said that. I mean, there are a lot of things here.
Mr. President, the witness who testified, though, said that he never heard any discussion of business when President Biden was put on the phone.
Wait a minute. You saw the prosecutor thing on television, because I saw it on your network. He said, you don't get rid of this prosecutor, I'm not giving $1 billion.
That was looked into as well. And as you know, there was never any wrongdoing.
If I ever said that, quid pro quo.
She should have asked him if he's going to pardon Hunter like he did Kodak. Yeah. I love how they reverse the prosecutor. Yeah, why doesn't anybody just go like, okay, if it was Hunter Biden that wanted this prosecutor gone, like why was Victor Shokin working, according to our research at least, with at the behest of the Burisma executives? Like why was he holding up an investigation, an international investigation into Burisma? What's the answer there? Like, oh, well, he was too stupid. He didn't know what was in his best interest. He still wanted Victor Shokin fired.
Let's move on to what a second Trump term would look like.
No!
When you launched your campaign in March, you told the crowd.
The question wasn't about Biden. It was Trump's belief that there are two justices. Even then, you're just wrong. Why not answer my question then? If you know more than the U.S. military, then why can't you figure out a way we don't watch out? Oh, come on, dude. Why don't we have to watch ads on top of every hour? Like, well, I've been trying all day, literally all fucking day. It was shit. It was easy bait. It's not good bait. But it's true, regardless. The United States military has figured out a way to avoid the top of the hour ad break. Okay? It's called a $5 a month subscription. Or it's called a free one in the form of a Twitch Prime. Or it's called getting gifted a sub. Okay? Now, those are the three ways that you can avoid the top of the hour ad break if you would like. Here's a 3-minute ad break now. Hasan, you've fallen the fuck off getting debated all the time now. I know. I really have. Those people, thank you for the 5, get the subs. Neon Majestic, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. When is TwitchCon Vegas? Oh, I just saw it. Okay, we're good. I will be at TwitchCon Vegas, of course.
Proud, quote, I am your retribution. What does that mean? What does that look like?
I think retribution is talking in terms of I have to protect people. What they're doing to people is so horrible.
My guy, I finally did it and sold my CSGO knife and got me a Steam Deck with the money. I'm very excited, and your love for it helped push me into buying it. Brother, you are going to have so much more fun with the fucking Steam Deck than you would have with the CSGO knife. I'm going to be honest with you.
horrible. They're
retribution.
Sorry.
In March, you told the crowd, quote, "I am your retribution." What does that mean? What does that look like?
I think retribution is talking in terms of I have to protect people. What they're doing to people is so horrible. They're putting people in jail for long periods of time. Firemen, policemen, accountants, even lawyers. They're in prisons for years now and don't even have trials in some cases. And if you look at Antifa and other groups, practically nothing happened to them. They burned down Portland. They burned down Minneapolis. They took over Seattle. I mean, they literally took over a big chunk of the city. People died and nothing happened to them. We have to protect all people.
Yeah. Trump is going to come back and Trump is going to come back and arrest everybody that he didn't get to arrest while he was president. You know, and also release all the people under his on his side. Oh God, it's so awesome, man. It's so sick. It's like literally everything is just the enemies are bad. When they do the same exact things, they're in the wrong. When my guys do it, they're in the right and need to be protected. It's pretty basic stuff. It's great. It's like cities were burning down. When my guys did it at the Capitol, very, very respectfully, they burned it down. And they got arrested for no reason.
But when you talk about retribution, are you talking about directing your attorney general to try to go after your political enemies?
When I talk about retribution, I'm talking about fairness. We have to treat people fairly. These people on January 6th, some of them never even went into the building, and they're being given sentences of, many years.
Are you going to pardon
and nothing
those
is
people who've been
happening?
convicted?
Well, I'm going to look at them, and I certainly might if I think it's appropriate. No, it's a very, very sad thing, and they're dividing the country so badly, and it's very dangerous.
Well, Mr. President, we're going to delve into that a little bit later on, but I want to stay on this idea of what you mean by retribution. Are you looking to appoint an attorney general who will prosecute the people you tell them to prosecute?
I'm looking to appoint an attorney general who's going to be tough on crime and fair. Very simple.
And go after your political enemies?
No, I would never do that. But Biden has done that. Look, Biden, these aren't indictments against me. These are Biden indictments. This isn't God coming down and very fairly said, "Oh, you spoke badly about an election." The election was rigged. There's no question about that. There's so much proof on it. Even if you go to the more modern day proof with the, they call it Twitter files, FBI and Twitter, or you take a look at the Amazon stuff or the Google stuff, or you take a look at 2,000 Mules, you take a look at all of the ballot stuffing that's on tape, you take a look at the fact that the legislatures didn't approve a lot of the things that were done in the elections and they had to approve. And we could go on forever. We could go on forever. But no, I want somebody that's going to be strong, respected, tough, and fair.
Just to go back to a couple of the points you said, the ballot stuffing, that's something that's been debunked.
It hasn't
As
been debunked.
you know,
it's on camera.
But I do want to keep moving forward.
Yeah, but
and of course,
it's on camera. Hundreds and even thousands and thousands of people. You take a look. True the vote. Take a look. It's on camera.
But Mr. President,
they have
you know,
thausands of
Republican
pictures.
officials
But
and
I know,
top
but
law
Kristen, you can't say
officials have
they have
told you that
thousands
that's
of pictures
debunked.
of people. I know you have to say that for your network, but you shouldn't say it. Because that's the problem.
But Mr. President,
the news
that's the
has
truth,
lost
and you've been
such
told that.
power.
Let's stay on track, though, Mr. President. Let's stay on track.
But you're
with
saying
this question.
it hasn't. We have thousands of essentially motion pictures of people stuffing the ballot boxes.
But Mr. President,
tens of thousands.
They're not stuffing the ballot boxes, and you've been told that by your top law enforcement officials. But let's stay on track because we have so much ground to cover.
You have people that went and voted in one place, another place, another place, as many as I understand, 28 different places in one day with 7, 8, 9 ballots apiece. They can't do anymore because it would look too phony. These were professional people. They were stuffing the ballot boxes. It's there. I mean, it's there to see. A lot of people don't like looking at it.
60 different cases all across the country. You lost that, but let's stay on track.
We lost because the judges didn't want to hear them.
Mr. President,
but if this were ever before a court, we would win so easy. There is so much evidence that the election was rigged. And you may not even put the section on your show, and you'll have to decide what you want to do. People know it was rigged. Look, the media, when I first got involved in politics.
As you know, there's no evidence of that. We have so many different topics.
Tremendous evidence.
I want to talk about what a potential.
I mean, this guy was the president. Like this bickering old man who's currently under, like, I mean, he's going to go to court for, like, acting out on some of the false information that he's, like, still peddling. Okay, he was the fucking president. So when I hear stuff like that, when I see stuff like this, it comes as no shock to me that the American government has lost an F-35. You know, a $35 trillion program so far that barely flies and can't fly when it's like raining and shit. Okay? And now they lost one of them. Like, what's happening, man? What the fuck's going on? Why has anyone ever let him disrespect them to their face, spit on him, and you suck his dick every day? You've been sucking his dick for years now. Shut the fuck up. Wait, we have like... Okay, I'm now realizing that we have a legitimate contingency of, like, liberals who think I'm pro-Trump. Like, who think I love Donald Trump. I'm no longer one guide by libs who think I'm pro-Trump. I'm now getting two guide. Funny thing about claiming the election was rigged is there's literal elitist infighting, since he's pretty much admitting the popular vote doesn't matter to shit on for shit, and someone in Washington just get to decide who can win. That chatter is not a lib. They called gay people homos. Wait, what is the chatter's username? Whoever said we needed hard questions, fascists die questioning intentionally. That's true. No, I think this guy's like literally a liberal. Hasan was soft on Umar, so he's been wrong more than once. No, I think I think I know which circles this guy's coming from. Nah, he thinks I'm like soft on Dr. Umar. And he thinks that I'm like pro-Trump. We'll keep him. Let's continue.
Let me ask you this.
Mr.
You agree
President,
there was Twitter files, right?
Mr. President.
You agree there were 51 intelligence agents that lied. You agree with that?
I'm not the one who's being interviewed. Let's stay on track because I want to talk about
that's rigging the election.
Because that's what voters.
You just talk about Trump to the point of promoting him, Lamau. It's not that you're pro-Trump. It's that his name tastes so good in your mouth you can't help say it for content. You just talk about Trump to the point of promoting him. I have said time and time again, I can't believe I'm fucking saying this. I can't believe I have to like openly like say something so stupefyingly obvious. Donald Trump is perfect when he is away from power. He's a funny poster. He's sassy. He's bitchy. He's catty. And when he's away from power, he's great. When nobody takes him seriously, or at least only takes him seriously enough to just like hear what he has to say. He's great. He's a content machine. But of course, I, as a Twitch streamer with 25,559 people in his chat, am not physically, spiritually, mentally, figuratively, literally capable of promoting the former president of the United States of America. Like it's just not, like, that's not a thing that can happen. You know what I mean? I hope you understand that. Like, one of the most famous people on the planet, right? The scumbag leftist sarcasm is sometimes a little much for a rank and file dem. Yeah.
Want to hear about, Mr. President. Let's talk about what's happening on Capitol Hill right now. Speaker McCarthy announced that he was launching an impeachment inquiry this week into President Biden. Do you see this as a part of the retribution that you seek?
No, not at all. I think, look, you look at the terrible things that have been happening with respect to Biden. Look at everything. Jamie Comer, Jim Jordan, who are fantastic people and very legitimate people. I watched Jamie Comer just a little while ago talking about a lot of different facets of what's going on. And he was the one that said, I guess there are 12 things where it looks like it's stone cold guilty. And the gun charge is only one of the 12. He said this is the only one that doesn't implicate Joe Biden.
So, but my question for you, did you talk to Speaker McCarthy about this House impeachment inquiry?
No, I don't talk to him.
Tell him that he should open a House
No,
impeachment
I don't
inquiry?
do that. I don't think do that. I mean, he wouldn't do it based on me, no.
Did you talk to your Republican allies on Capitol Hill and say you should support this?
No, I don't have to talk. They're more proactive than I am. They think it's terrible. I will say this. They think I was treated very unfairly. I mean, when I was impeached for a perfect phone call, and now it turned out to be perfect, I hope you will admit that at least, because I was right, 100% right. But I was impeached for a perfect phone call. And how sad that is. And we had 196-0 vote for Republicans. Very unusual for the Republican Party. I was so proud of them. 196, the entire House, not one person dissented. And then other than Romney, who sort of gave me half a vote, but we had 100% in the Senate. People think I was treated very unfairly.
Well, the people who
voted I know I was treated.
The people who voted for that impeachment say that the phone call that you referenced was about a quid pro quo.
It was perfect.
But
my phone call was perfect. My phone call was saying, please investigate any crimes that you see. And by the way,
he's so back, dude. Come on. He's fucking back. His phone call was perfect, dude. He's right. Why are y'all chirping? Fucking most perfect phone call. Okay? Get the fuck out of here.
By the way, I'm mandated to do that as the president of the United States. And it was really a call to congratulate him on winning the election. But
what is it? Trump has a point on economy. That's all I said. You make the vote, not me. Trump has a point on the economy. Please, right now, explain to me what tax bracket you're in, because Trump did not help you at all. Okay? If you think that Trump helped you with like massive tax cuts for corporations and the top 1% of wealth, let me tell you, you're not in that bracket. Okay? You got like a $25 money back guarantee, okay? Month over month. And that's gone. It expired already. That was the greatest. That was the funniest part about the tax breaks, the tax cuts, was that he ripped the estate tax, okay? He gutted the estate tax further, the death tax for Republicans, okay? And that's the Republican way of talking about the estate tax. He also gave tax cuts to every single tax bracket except the tax brackets outside of the top tax bracket and the corporate tax rate was slated to expire. That's right. The Trump tax cuts were made permanent for the top tax bracket and also the corporations, whereas everyone else's tax cuts, which were already tiny anyway, okay, they have expired. So you're paying more in taxes year over year. You're paying the same amount of taxes you're paying that you did before the Trump tax cuts. Now, right now, every rich person in America says Biden destroyed the economy. Will they profit immensely from his policy and pass the cost of inflation directly to us? These people are ghouls and will act like they are being cheated even when they're winning. Yeah, of course. So that people like I Am Legion 19XX can come in here and say and say the exact same things without putting any thought, any care, any consideration into it. Like how was your economic circumstances better? How did they improve under Donald Trump? Okay, but people were better off under Trump, though. Inflation has been crazy and things are more expensive than they used to be. I know, but like people always make it seem as though there is no fucking reason for why these things happen or that they happen fucking overnight. Okay? It didn't happen overnight. Like you think Trump's policies did not play a role in inflation getting out of hand after he left the office? Like, what do you think? How do you think this works? Like, you think Joe Biden came into office and was like, I am going to hit the inflation button. And then he was like, oh, Jack, I hit the inflation button again. Why? I'm so old. And it's also not just in the United States of America, but inflation is like global, partially because, again, corporate consolidation exists in every aspect of global capitalism. Okay. And a lot of the same class interest and the same class dynamic is represented in every part of our lives all around the world. During the pandemic, there were supply chain hurdles. There was demand that was, the demand stayed stable or increased for certain goods and certain services. But unfortunately, the supply was diminished. But then, post-pandemic, which obviously the pandemic is still around, but our lifestyles are no longer in like the lockdown pandemic era, okay? Corporations in non-planned economies, in capitalist nations, chose to keep the price points as high as possible. And it's like, it's so strange because just look at the fucking profits, man. Even if you are not of the mindset that like this is greedflation that we're experiencing, even if you think that there is a real invisible hand that's guiding the economy and that inflation is like this genuine scientific process, okay? Then take a look at the reasons as to why inflation might still be an issue as I guess payback for, not payback necessarily, but to recoup the extra profits that they could have made during the pandemic. Highly fraudulent PPP loans not used to keep workers on payroll. The increased quantitative easing and reduction in corporate taxes also contributed to inflation. Yeah, even on neoclassical terms, obviously, every fucking dude chirps about the money printer going brrr, but like nobody ever thinks about where that money printer was directed at during the pandemic. Everybody thinks about like the fucking minuscule amount. That was actually pretty good for the record. The Trump bucks were very good, but that amount is not the reason why fucking inflation is skyrocketed. The real reason why inflation skyrocketed is there's plenty of other avenues that the money was printed towards in the direction of that didn't necessarily. I don't buy the PPP explanation. How? The PPP loans were supposed to be given to corporations on the condition that they were there specifically so you could keep hiring your fucking workers, like you could keep them on payroll. They didn't do that. They literally didn't do that. You know what they did do though? Ended child poverty. Well, not ended it, but like dramatically tackled child poverty, which, you know, not the best thing. It's very, very bad to end it. Very good to have it. Very bad to end it. There's more money, but it's not the average person. The economy's inflated as a whole, but the usual squeeze is tough is at the bottom. My company got a $3 million loan, and the only thing they gave us was one free large pizza a week, and that was only for a month. Trump is skipping the second GOP debate to speak to striking auto workers in Detroit. Oh, my God. Okay, this is actually going to be really interesting because Sean Fain is not a Trump fan by any means. So we'll see how this plays out for him. Anyway, let's continue.
Mr. President, let's...
No, when you talk about quid pro quo, please don't talk about quid pro quo because there was none in the call at all. Where there's a quid pro quo was when Biden said very strongly, we're not going to give them the $1 billion unless they get rid of the prosecutor.
Yeah, they did. So that's a really interesting take from Donald Trump because Biden didn't do that in a private conversation that he didn't think that everyone would hear. He did it in broad daylight. Now, do you guys know why Biden did that in broad daylight? Like openly went to Ukraine and said, we're going to withhold aid. Well, not necessarily aid, but loans. Because he doesn't have the fucking power single-handedly to do that as the vice president because the World Bank and the IMF wanted the fucking prosecutor removed, okay? It was not specifically because Biden was like, oh, give me some information about my possible political opponent coming up in the next election, Jack. No, he was like, fire Victor Shokin, he's corrupt. That's it. He said, fire Victor Shokin, he's corrupt. This is not just my opinion. This is the opinion of the IMF and the World Bank. They're not going to give you loans anymore. Okay? That's it. And not only that, but also Republicans in fucking Congress were also advocating for that. There was a bipartisan letter signed, as we saw in 2016, I think.
A quid pro quo.
Mr. President, let me take a step back here, because a lot of voters say what they want to talk about right now is your vision for the future.
Sure.
And I've been traveling to a lot of the early voting states, and they say that your focus on the past is a problem for them. What do you say to those voters?
I have no focus on the past, except that you have to learn from history. You have to learn from the past. We had an election that was very, very terrible. It was a terrible thing for our country. And you have to learn from that. You can't forget that and just go. Now, with all of the things that we said, I had the best economy maybe in history.
We're going to talk about it next.
Right.
So let's stay
I had the best economy in history, and I'm going to do it again.
He's like, we can't keep focusing on the past. I had the best economy in history. You got to learn from that.
Again, I had the best energy. We were energy independent, soon to be energy dominant. Now we're begging for energy. I mean, what they've done to this country, they're destroying our country.
We're going to talk about the economy in just a minute. But before we move on from Capitol Hill, do you think Republican hardliners should abandon their threat to shut down the government over their spending priorities now that there is this impeachment?
No, I think if they don't get a fair deal, we have to save our country. We have $35 trillion in debt. We have to save our country.
So you would shut down the government? You'd support that?
I'd shut down the government if they can't make an appropriate deal. Absolutely.
Okay, let's talk about the economy.
No, the fuck he wouldn't. You would never do that if you were president. That's so stupid. Like, no president would be like, yeah, I'll own it. I'll take the L. Get the fuck out of here. So dumb. But again, it's kind of the same. It's kind of the same fucking the same ridiculous lie that he's like, I would pull out of Afghanistan, but I would do it right. Okay? It's like, okay, well, you didn't, so we have no way of knowing, I guess.
And I want to start by talking about this big standoff between the auto workers and the big three auto manufacturers. Yeah. My question for you, Mr. President, whose side are you on in this?
I'm on the side of making our country great. The auto workers are not going to have any jobs when you come right down to it, because if you take a look at what they're doing with electric cars are going to be made in China. The auto workers are not going to have any. I'll tell you what, the auto workers are being sold down the river by their leadership, and their leadership should endorse Trump. The reason is, you got to have choice. Like in school, I want school choice. I also want choice for cars. If somebody wants gasoline, if somebody wants all electric, they can do whatever they want. But they're destroying the consumer, and they're destroying the auto workers. The auto workers will not have any jobs, Kristen, because all of these cars are going to be made in China. The electric cars automatically are going to be made in China.
So let's talk about UAW's leadership.
So this is his pivot. Listen. This is an important pivot because, like, we watched Tim Scott try to talk about the labor union activity happening at UAW Big Three auto manufacturers right now, and he literally was like, I mean, I don't know why I'm doing a Trump voice. He basically fucking was like, nobody wants to work anymore, okay? That is not a good take. But Trump is a Republican, so he can't openly be like super fucking pro-union, right? Like, but he also is a populist, so he has to be pro-union. Like, he has to be pro-labor force while simultaneously not saying that he's like pro-union, pro-labor force. These big three need to cave to the fucking demands that the union is making. You can't say that as a Republican. So he's in this like weird bind. Okay. When you look at like the actual normal Republicans, they just straight up will be like, yeah, fuck these unions. Okay. Like, they're pieces of shit. That's a holdover from the old Republican, the old Republican party. I love him being like, union leadership sucks. Also, they should endorse me. But he is also not pro-labor because he mistreated all labor that worked for him. Okay, that's a given. He's a billionaire real estate developer. Donald Trump has never been pro-labor in his own personal life, in his private affairs. Donald Trump is a notorious fucker over of contractors, okay? Obviously, he doesn't like labor. He's never been pro-labor. You're the biggest fucking idiot if you think that Donald Trump has ever been pro-labor. My point is, Trump got 48% of rank and file union votes in 2020. Is that true? It's not surprising, but he said some very important things that made him. Oh my God. Rank and file union members snub Biden for Trump. And unions, especially building trade support for president, remains solid despite the efforts of labor leaders to convince members otherwise. Okay, this is. Okay, give me numbers. Where union voters have a sizable impact, roughly 1 in 6 voters nationwide is either a union member or comes from a union household. God, America is so stupid. I guess police unions are a part of this number, maybe. If that's the case, then that makes sense. Among members of the North America's building trades unions, there is a dead heat in swing states, with Biden receiving 48% of the vote and Trump 47%. You're a household name at this point. It says big fan of your content. Thank you. I don't think so, but thank you. I work at a heavy equipment dealer with a unionized shop, and I can guarantee 85% voted for Trump. I mean, I've talked about this before. I'm in the carpenters union, and I'm the only person I know at work who voted for Biden. I fucking love that, dude. I fucking love that. Hell yeah, baby. Oh, God, we are the dumbest fucking country on the planet, dude. Oh, man. I don't even fault them, to be fair. I have talked about this before. So I think the exit polls show a different reality. A household with a union member, 57% voted for Joe Biden. A household without a union member, 51% voted for Joe Biden. So 57% of households with a union member voted for Joseph Robinette Biden over Donald Trump. Now, of course, that means like not just the rank and file, but also the son or daughter or the wife of a union member or the husband of a union member. So like blue collar doesn't vote for Biden. That's not true. Stop. This narrative is so stupid. One, the American labor force is only 10% unionized, okay? 10% union participation in the overall American labor force. That's number one. Number two, if you look at the actual income, if you actually look at how this works, okay, on the income front, you're wrong. The notion that the notion that like wealthy people vote for the Democrats and like working class people vote for the Republicans is the wrong one. It's a false notion, okay? That's not the case. Poor people still vote in the direction of the Democratic Party. Rich people still vote in the direction of the Republican Party. Okay? The fantasy that Republicans have created so successfully, okay? The fantasy that Republicans have created so successfully is this like ridiculous notion that the Republican Party is actually pro-labor, they do this like populist bullshit, and they act like they are actually in support, or they get a lot of union support or labor support from the working class. It's bullshit. That's not real. Not real. Just like the working class is not just fucking white working class people. Okay? That's just so stupid. It's dumb. The working class is very diverse because America is very diverse, okay? There's trans people in the working class. There's black people in the working class. There's women in the working class. There's gay people in the working class. It's so fucking dumb to fantasize about this mythological white guy who's working a fucking rugged-ass job, okay, in the construction yards or whatever. It's so dumb. It's made up. It's a made-up fantasy cooked up by Yale debate society perverts that literally fucking have never had any real proximity. They would spit on the construction workers if they could, okay? Like, it's literally dumbass fucking Yale graduate perverts that make up this fantasy, and every other dumbass fucking believes it. What is the, oh God, I know this video. This video is so fucking insane. Okay. Yeah. Look at any road crew in California, mostly Latino. That, yes. Also, look at the fucking UAW picket lines, and you'll realize the black labor force has a higher union participation than the white labor force in this country. Shut the fuck up about the working class being not diverse. Okay? Just remember that. Whenever, like, because, like, there used to be this old antiquated talking point about how, like, labor unions are racist. And, yeah, there was a certain point in time when they were. Except now, the black union, the union participation amongst the black labor force is higher, okay, than union participation in the white labor force. Explain this. That's just me LARPing as a worker. Yeah, if you want to see a place where there's not enough diversity, look to fucking C-suite, okay? The boards and the executives, infinitely less diverse than the actual fucking labor force. Anyway. Oh. Me when I get my first $400 vintage Carhartt jacket? Yeah.
President Sean Fain has withheld his endorsement of President Biden, but this is what he had to say about you. Quote, another Donald Trump presidency would be a disaster. How would you win that endorsement?
Well, if that's the case, I probably won't win his. I don't know the gentleman, but I know his name very well. And I think he's not doing a good job in representing his union because he's not going to have a union in 3 years from now. Those jobs are all going to be gone because all of those electric.
See, that's literally fucking, it's over. It's Jover. Okay? Yeah, go ahead. Play this line in any fucking Michigan shop, dude. Get the fuck out of here, okay? Leftist like Shabby Shab said labor unions are racist. Oh, you mean Ben Shapiro. Woo! I didn't even see this part.
Cars are going to be made in China. That's what's happening. Number one. Number two, the electric cars are much more expensive and they don't go far enough. So if somebody wants to take a little bit of a long, just like the trucks, if somebody wants to take a little bit of a long ride, let's go to Maine or let's go to Kentucky from New York. You can't do it. I mean, you have to stop all the time. They don't go far enough. They're very expensive. They have a lot of drawbacks. Now, with that being said, some people are going to want them. Some people are going to travel.
No, I think they mean RBN, Sabby Sabs. I have no idea who the fuck
short
that
distances. What they're doing with our trucking industry is a disaster because they want all electric trucks. And a truck on with a large tank, large gasoline or diesel capacity can go up to 2,000 miles. An electric truck goes 300 miles. So what are these guys going to do? They're going to stop every 300 miles and recharge their truck and spend 3 hours?
Let's move on and talk about another big picture issue when it comes to the economy. The issue of interest rates, inflation, something that you've talked a lot about.
Yeah.
The Federal Reserve is obviously independent, but I wonder, Mr. President, if you are re-elected, would you direct your Federal Reserve chair to lower interest rates?
Well, you know that I put a lot of pressure on him. It was outside pressure because nobody knows whether or not you can really do that, but I did because I thought his interest rates were too high, and he ultimately dropped his interest rates. The same gentleman, as you know. But it was a lot of pressure. I mean, I was very active on that. Right now, interest rates are very high. They're too high. People can't buy homes. They can't do anything. I mean, they can't borrow money. The banks don't have the money. The banks aren't lending the money. The banks, by the way, Chase Manhattan Bank, Bank of America, they discriminate against conservatives. It's a disgrace, and they
the real banking discrimination is happening against conservatives, okay? Yeah. Not black people, not the Latin population.
shouldn't be allowed to, and I'm going to do something about that. But you take a look at banks throughout the country, and I think because of the regulators.
One thing that I love, that I wish the Democrats would do more of, is like, just say you're going to do government intervention. Like, this is something that you have to recognize with Donald Trump. He says he is going to do government intervention. Yeah, too, Mom. İki. İki bir tane de küçük at peki. Trump openly fucking says all the time that he is just going to do government intervention. Now, is he going to actually do it? Fuck no. Of course he's not going to do it. Ron DeSantis, on the other hand, is too stupid to realize that you're not supposed to use government intervention to actually, hurt the bottom line of corporations, because America is supposed to be pro corporations. But like, he does such a good job of just saying he's going to do it. Like, it's great. It's great. Like, yeah, I'm going to go after banks. I'm going to regulate banks. Oh, so sick. It's so sick. I'm going to go after the banks because they're discriminating against conservatives, okay? It's awesome. Why doesn't Brandon do it? I wish Brandon would do it. I wish Brandon would actually do it, for the record. I wish he would actually regulate.
But you take a look at Bank of America and Chase. They discriminate against conservatives
What's
and
the
Republicans.
Evidence for that, Mr. President?
Oh, we'll give you plenty of evidence.
Okay, all right. Well, let's stay on track with this question.
He said, we'll give you plenty of evidence to that. That means, in Trump terms, that means no evidence, okay?
So just to be very clear, if you were reelected, would you direct your Fed chair to lower interest rates?
It depends. It depends.
You
Depends
might.
where inflation is. But I would get inflation down, because drill we must. We will be drilling for oil. We are going to become, again, energy independent. We are going to reduce our debt, because we're also going to become energy dominant. We were ready to go dominant within a matter of months. We would have been making so much money. We have more oil, I call it liquid gold, under our feet than any other country. Saudi Arabia, Russia, and there's no country with more, and it's sweet. It's the finest. We have the best. We're taking it from Venezuela. You know what it is? Tar. It's the worst.
Mr. President, are you going to appoint a new Fed chair if you're reelected?
Well,
Actual truth about oil. I mean, the best is Saudi liquid gold. Like, I don't think America's like crude oil is as good as Saudi Arabia. That's like kind of the reason why we love Saudi Arabia, don't we, folks? He did say it's sweet. You think he tasted the oil? No, he did not.
I guess he would have 2 years left or something like that. So we'll see. But,
Okay. All right.
the word Joe.
Yeah, Saudi oil is easy to get. American oil, not as easy.
Boning. I did a lot of jawboning against him, and he ultimately lowered interest rates. We had
what the fuck is he saying?
Or something like.
Appoint a new Fed chair if you're reelected?
Well, I guess he would have 2 years left or something like that. So we'll see. But,
okay. All right.
The word jawboning. I did a lot of jawboning against him, and he ultimately lowered interest rates. We had low interest rates. We had the best housing market ever. We had people buying homes. Today, people can't buy homes.
Economists are looking at some of the figures right now. The fact that the unemployment rate is at 3.8%.
And he's a net exporter of oil, but they're also cutting production to prop up prices in cooperation with OPEC Plus. Yet more price fixing is caused by the de facto oligopoly. I mean, Brandon couldn't even get them to fucking increase oil output, like oil production, during the OPEC situation as a way to counter against like OPEC, the cartel.
And they say it looks like the U.S. may not dip into a recession. What do you make of that assessment?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, people are going to, they say that, and then you end up in a depression. They say you're going to do great, you end up bad, you say, and the opposite. Most of them don't know what they're doing. It's a touch, it's a feel. And I predicted a lot of markets. I predicted a lot of things, frankly. They say Trump was right about everything. I think that the way it's going now, you're going to have to, things are not going right now very well for the consumer. Bacon is up 5 times. Food is up horribly, worse than energy. Energy is starting to go up at a level that we haven't seen in a long time, meaning a couple of years since he took over, because I had energy prices very low. I had gasoline very low.
He's got the epic bacon vote.
Get the energy down, which they will never do. And they kept it artificial because they took the strategic reserves, which I had a lot to do with filling up for the first time ever. They took the strategic reserves and he issued it to everybody so that he could keep the gas prices down. Now, strategic reserves are at the lowest level they've ever been at, and we need that for war
And there are a lot of factors that have contributed to
that. Well, no, the big factor is the fact that he took that oil.
Let's talk about taxes.
He took that and he wanted to have low gas prices for an election. And now we have nothing left.
Mr. President, there are a lot of factors, including global factors, that went into that. Let's talk about taxes, though.
I don't know why people stick up for him so much when he makes bad decisions like you. I don't know why, and I have a lot of respect for you, and you were very fair in the debate. But I don't know why you and other people say, oh, it's okay that he destroyed the strategic petroleum reserves. I mean, why do you do that? Or it's okay that he has open borders. Somebody was in your position, not quite as good, said this morning, oh, having open borders is a wonderful thing. I don't know why, and I think that's why the media has lost so much credibility.
Mr. President, we're just having a conversation. Let me talk to you about taxes and your differences with President Biden over taxes.
Sure.
He wants to raise corporate tax rates to 28%. It's reported you want to lower them to 15%. Is that true?
I'd like to lower them a little bit if we could, but what I want to do is we have to get some income coming in. You know, when I lowered taxes, we took in more revenue.
To 15%, Mr.
You know
President?
that when it depends on where we are at the time. You know, a lot happens in a year. But when I
Did you just say we want lower taxes? I'm going to lose my fucking mind. Anne bana bir tane daha harissa verir misin? Bu bitmiş. Yeah, what are we doing here, man? Even lower taxes? Fuck it. Let's see how low we can go all the way to the floor. I think a just and equitable society would have zero corporate tax. Yeah. Zero. Corporations are not people unless they are voting with their dollars, in which case they are people and their dollars are speech. But corporations are not people when they're, paying taxes. So they should pay 0%. Negative taxes? I mean, that already exists. We already have negative taxes. It's called subsidies, dog.
Lower taxes. I cut taxes tremendously, created tremendous jobs. But more importantly, we had more revenue with lower taxes than we did with higher taxes.
You also added $8 trillion to the national debt. Your GOP challenger, Nikki Haley, made that point, saying, quote, the truth is that Biden didn't do this to us. Republicans did this to us. Does she have a point?
We had a thing happen to us. We had the greatest economy in history, and then we got hit with COVID. And we had to keep this beautiful thing going. And if I didn't do that, if we didn't put some money in, nobody knew what COVID was.
Yeah, that's not where that's coming from, dog. Talking about the tax cuts that you were just flaunting. The other side of it is not the problem here.
Remember, this was a new thing that came in. Somebody said it's dust coming in from China. It came from China. They tried and denied it, or they tried for a little while, and we didn't let it. It came from Wuhan, actually, which now they agree. Everybody's now agreeing that it came from Wuhan. I said that years ago. But we had to do things that were very severe. We had to let some money come out. We were on the verge of doing
Bro, who didn't think it was coming from Wuhan? Like
something that was amazing. We were going to have energy at a level bigger than Russia and Saudi Arabia combined. That energy was going to be sold to Europe and all other places. The prices would have come down. We were going to make a fortune, and we were going to start paying off debt. Instead, we got hit with COVID. People didn't need oil because nobody was driving all over the world. I mean, frankly, it was a disaster. What China did to the world with COVID is something that we're going to get to the bottom of, and they have to pay something back. You know, nobody can pay back the cost of all those lives and all the money that was lost, but nobody can pay back the lives and all of the damage that was caused, including China. But you know what? They have to pay something back.
To Nikki Haley's key argument, though. What do you say to her?
What does Nikki Haley know? I mean, I know Nikki Haley very well. She said, I'm the greatest president. She left. She said, I'm the greatest president. Now she's running for office and she says something. Look, Nikki Haley doesn't know anything about it. She's a politician. She knows nothing about it. Very nice woman. Some people like that, I would say. But she left office. She said very strongly, I will never.
What does Nikki Haley know?
He was a great president. And then in some cases said the greatest president of my lifetime. In one case said the greatest president ever. Now she's running. Nikki Haley has nothing to do with this. We were going to make a fortune off our energy. We were going to send the energy to Europe. Europe was going to pay us tremendous amounts of money. And I'll tell you, you would have never had the Ukraine monster at all. It would have never happened. Russia would have never got, just by sheer force of personality. But beyond personality, what happened is when oil hit $100 a barrel, and by the way, it's right there right now again, Putin makes a fortune on this war. You know, everybody said, oh, he can't afford it. If Biden allowed my policies to stay in place, oil would right now be at $40 a barrel, and Putin wouldn't be able to afford the war.
We are going to get to the war in Ukraine, but first I do want to talk about the issue of abortion, which is important to a lot of voters all across the country. Just this week, women in Idaho and Tennessee, I don't know if you saw this, filed suit against their state saying their lives were put at risk after they were denied abortion services because their state's restrictive laws put in place after Roe was overturned. So my question for you, Mr. President, is how is it acceptable in America that women's lives are at risk, doctors are being forced to turn away patients in need, or risk breaking the law?
Ready? A little bit of a long answer. I hope you have time.
I hope you have time. Okay. I'm here for as long as you have.
So you have Roe v. Wade. For 52 years, people, including Democrats, wanted it to go back to states so that states could make the right. Roe v. Wade,
I'm going to die. Democrats wanted to overturn Roe v. Wade to allow states to make decisions on abortion is the best. Oh, I love that. God, that's such a stupid argument. It's such a big bind for Donald Trump. Like, there's nothing he can do in this situation.
I did something that nobody thought was possible, and Roe v. Wade was terminated, was put back to the states. Now, people, pro-lifers, have the right to negotiate for the first time. They had no rights at all. Because the radical people on this are really the people, the Democrats, that say after 5 months, 6 months...
Wait, I don't get it. So are you saying you made it easy? Wait, even that doesn't make sense. Because now he's saying he gave Democrats the power to fucking make abortion like totally permissible at 9 months and change. He's like, you know, Democrats wanted abortion at 10 months, folks. They wanted abortion after birth. I gave it to them. That's what they wanted. Believe me.
7 months, 8 months, 9 months, and even after birth, you're allowed to terminate the baby.
Democrats aren't saying that. I just have to. Democrats are not saying that.
Of course
That's
they do.
Not true.
You have a Virginia governor, previous governor, who said after the baby is born, you will make a determination, and if you want, you will kill that baby.
But
the
Mr.
baby is now born.
Democrats writ large are not talking about that. Only 1% of late-term abortions happen in always in the state of
They are
crisis.
the radical people because nobody wants to see abortion after 5 months and 6 months and 7 months. And now it's going to, it gave people that believe.
No, that's poor showing. That's poor showmanship from MSNBC. And normally I would say their incompetence is by design, but this is not an issue that they need to be incompetent on because it's a deeply unpopular one. No, you have to be better. You have to be better at countering this. No, sorry. You have to demonstrate competence in this situation. There is no material reason for you not to. Normally, I would say, they're deliberately, by design, not offering pushback. She's just doing a bad fucking job here. And I think the counter in this situation is, I know people in the chat are saying, oh, I'm surprised she even delivered any pushback at all. I know. Okay? I know that we have low expectations. I get it. But this is one area where, no, especially as a woman too, you literally could have easily been like, what are you talking about? What you're saying is incorrect. It's simply incorrect, okay? The governor you're pointing to is not like, that's not a real quote from the governor. Infanticide, like murdering a child, is what you're describing. It's illegal in every state of the United States of America. Okay? You have to be very clear. She was like, oh, that's only 1%, and it only happens where there's like issues, health complications. It's like, no, be clear. That quote is not real. It's not a real quote. You're just lying. You're lying right now. You Weasley little liar. Only some Democrats want to kill babies. Exactly. That's like a fucking stupid counter.
And pro-life, look, just so you understand, it's pretty much 50-50. It's a 50-50 issue. Amazing. If you look at the charts, it's been 49-51. It's been like that for many years. Goes both ways.
No, it's not!
51, both ways. Ready? I was able to do something which gave at least pro-life people a voice. Now it's going to work out. Now, the number of months
No,
will
it's
be
not! Fuck! It's not! That's why you can't even fucking stand on top of a fucking mountaintop and be like, I did this. Because if it was 50-50 and you know how to read the fucking room, you would not be pussyfooting around it. Like, oh, I just gave people the right to choose. That's what I did. I'm pro-choice. Fuck you. You know this shit's unpopular. You fucking know it. That's why you're trying to triangulate around it. Because on the one hand, you want to fucking claim ownership over this thing, but you, just like everybody else that, you know, follows this shit, recognizes the pain that it fucking caused for a tiny, minuscule percentage of the Republican voter base. Bullshit. Bull fucking shit. I hate that she's not saying that, though. 50-50 my ass. Suck my fucking cock. Are you out of your fucking mind? 50-50 what? This issue has never been 50-50. It's not even 50-50 in red states, okay? Republicans get abortions too. If it was 50-50, Trump would be fucking literally taking his dick out and waving it, okay? And he wouldn't even... I hate the media so much. I hate the media more than I hate Donald Trump in this regard because they are the fucking demon, pedophile, vampire, interdimensional pieces of shit that have continued this like, oh, it's a contentious debate narrative when there's no contention. None whatsoever. Fuck you. It's so fucking annoying. You watch NPR, you watch the New York Times, they're always like, oh, we asked the Family Crisis Pregnancy Kidnapping Center of Mormons what they think. Here is a guy who makes $250,000 representing the Pro-Pedophilia Only for Catholicism Institute. And it's like, why? Why are you asking him this? His job is to go on NPR and act like this is a divisive issue when it's not a fucking divisive issue. Fuck you. Suck my fucking cock. There is not a single fucking place in the United States of America where being anti-abortion is a popular fucking idea. It's not the case. They're fucking lying. Jesus Christ, dude. It's like the most deliberate form of propaganda, the endless need to make it seem like this is a divisive issue when it's not a divisive issue.
Can you
and you're going to have
this
something
question?
where everybody comes together.
Does it bother?
No. Hold him to account. He said 50-50. Ask him why, if it's 50-50, that he's like tiptoeing around his major accomplishment. Fucking hell, dude. Fuck this.
That women say their lives are being put at risk. Do you feel you bear any responsibility? Because as you say, you are responsible.
What's going to happen, this is an issue that's been going on for a long time. And it's a very polarizing issue. Because of what's been done and because of the fact we brought it back to the states, we're going to have people come together on this issue. They're going to determine the time because nobody wants to see 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 months. Nobody wants to see abortions when you have a baby in the womb. I said with Hillary Clinton when we had the debate, I made a statement.
Yeah.
Rip the baby.
Exactly. Nobody wants to see abortions is the real fucking take, okay? If abortion is murder, murder is murder. There is no like, oh, well, it's murder only after 5 months or whatever. Fuck you. 90% of abortions happen at the first trimester, okay? They happen at the first trimester in every fucking state. It happens at the first goddamn trimester. Suck my fucking cock. You made it literally illegal. You allowed states to decriminalize abortion. And by the way, not only did states you allow states to criminalize abortion, sorry. Not only did they do that, but also in states where it was put on the ballot, like in fucking Kentucky, okay? The people overwhelmingly voted in support of abortion access. And yet, Daniel Cameron, Mitch McConnell's very own attorney general, still chose to prosecute abortions as though it's criminal. It's fucking insane. It happened in Kansas. It happened in Kentucky. It happened all around the fucking country. Because Americans are pro allowing people the right to choose, okay? It's bullshit, dude. No, it's fucking bullshit.
Be out of the womb in the 9th month. You're allowed to do that, and you shouldn't be allowed to do that.
Again, no one is arguing for that. That's not a part of anyone's platform, Mr. President.
The Democrats are able to kill the baby after birth.
Let me talk to you.
Nobody wants that.
Democrats don't want that
so
either.
We're going to come together.
I want to know what you...
I want to do a post-mortem version on someone that is, you know... Anyway, I'm not going to say anything further. Okay, I'm back in it. Now I can't even fucking laugh at Donald Trump. I'm so pissed off. I hate this shit so much. This is like... Oh, it's so frustrating. Just fucking say he's lying, okay? Say he's lying. Meet the press, okay? Meet it. Meet the press. It's not meet the president's dick in your fucking mouth, okay? It's meet the press. Be the press. Do the press thing, okay? Press him. It's so fucking frustrating, dude. What are you doing? I hate it. This is so unimaginably nutty because it's such a black and white issue in a sea of contradictions where there is never something so clear cut. Okay? Americans are fucking stupid. We can't agree on anything. This is the one issue that we fucking agree on. Fuck.
You want. I want to know what you're going to do if you're
reelected. We are going to come together.
Would you sign federal legislation that would ban abortion at 15 weeks?
No. Let me just tell you what I do. I'm going to come together with all groups, and we're going to have something that's acceptable. Right now, to my way of thinking, the Democrats are the radicals. Because after 4 and 5 and 6 months, but you have to say this, after birth. You have New York State and other places that pass legislation where you're allowed to kill the baby after birth.
Mr. President, I want to give voters who are going to be weighing in on this election a very clear sense of where you stand on this.
I think they're all going to like me. I think both sides are going to like me.
What's going
to have to happen is you're going to have to...
By the way, this is him literally trying to argue like he did last time. This is how he won last time. So it's like classic. He's doing the same thing. This is MAGA 2.0. Okay? It's over. You were the president. Your decisions and your actions and your appointments created the new environment that we're in. And he's still like, oh no, Democrats want to kill the baby. They want to kill the baby. They want to kill the baby. It's like, dog, we moved beyond that. We're doing ectopic pregnancies or killing the fucking carrier. Okay? That's where we're at. Oh, man. He needs new talking points. He can't. He can do nothing on this. You want to know something really sad for the Republican Party? At the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. It's really sad for everybody, not just the Republican Party. And if you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe, which you can do for $5 or free with a Twitch Prime by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account. Okay? Here's a 3-minute ad break now. Okay. What's really sad for the Republican Party's state of affairs, okay? Let me tell you something. What's really sad about the situation is that this is the best messaging they have. It only gets worse. It only gets worse from this point on. Donald Trump tries to say, oh, well, we need to have a conversation. States' rights. and he tries to hand wave away the abortion conversation. The rest of them, with the exception of Nikki Haley, literally either have implemented really strict regulation in their states like Ron DeSantis, or Mike Pence, who advocates for a federal ban on abortion. So it goes way worse than this. At least on the messaging front, Donald Trump is the only one who's like recognizing, other than Nikki Haley, that this is a major problem for the Republican Party's future. Okay? But it's only a major problem if the liberal institutional Democrats and the liberal media, mainstream media, actually fucking hold them accountable. If you let them hand wave away and go, oh, well, you know, Democrats want to kill the baby, like shit like that. If you don't shove that fucking rhetoric back down his gullet, then what the fuck are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? You're not doing your job, and you're misinforming the American public. It's so fucking annoying.
This question,
Listen,
please.
You're asking me a question. What's going to happen is you're going to come up with a number of weeks or months. You're going to come up with a number that's going to make people happy, because 92% of the Democrats don't want to see abortion after a certain period of time.
If a federal ban landed on your desk, if you were reelected, would you sign it at 15
Are you
weeks?
talking about a complete ban?
A ban at 15 weeks?
Well, people are starting to think of 15 weeks. That seems to be a number that people are talking about right now.
Would you sign that?
I would sit down with both sides and I'd negotiate something, and we'll end up with peace on that issue for the first time in 52 years.
Look at that. One, there was already peace on the issue. So that part is a lie. But remember, look at him trying to fucking triangulate. That's why I have the Edimentum tweet. He's moderating for the general election. That is precisely what's going on. Okay? That's what he's doing. I told you that he was going to do this. I told you that he had always had a very interesting answer for the abortion question, because he has to, because he knows it's very fucking unpopular. Because, as Jimberly Esquire is correctly pointing out, abortions are healthcare. Abortions keep women from dying. Abortions keep fetuses from suffering. Abortions keep mothers from having to watch a baby die in their arms. It is fucking insane that this is not seen as like a medical necessity or a medical procedure that women should be able to get when they need to, when they choose to do so, and instead a hot button political conversation. It's so fucking dumb. And not only is it so fucking dumb that in spite of the media's deliberate attempts at trying to turn this into a divisive issue, it's not. Republican women get abortions. It's not. It's not divisive. Because if it was a fucking democratically voted on process, all of these fucking ballot measures would not be unironically driving more people out to go out and vote in special elections, dog. People hate voting in America. They don't believe in their fucking government. The one time they vote is to literally defend their fucking civil liberties. And when they're given an opportunity to defend their civil liberties, they're like, oh, fuck, I'm going to go out and vote. I have to do this now. Like, I don't give a shit, but I have to go out and vote. And then they do. And so much so, and they do it in such a fucking obvious way that now they're trying to fucking take off the abortion. They're trying to take off the abortion restriction or abortion access provisions from fucking ballot measures all around the country, because the Republican Party is comprised of terrorists, okay? They are psychopathic, bloodthirsty terrorists who have no interest in democracy. And if you literally think that they are even remotely interested in democracy, at least the Democrats that don't like democracy posture like they care about democracy. Neither side cares. It's bourgeois democracy. But at least one side fucking postures like they give a shit. The other side literally tells you it's not a democracy. Shut the fuck up. If you are still at this point trying to advocate for the Republican Party, I don't know what to do to you. I don't know what to say to you. You are the biggest fucking baboon on the planet. Oh. And the worst part about it is that liberals do a horrible job at even fucking defending it. Democrats are so bad. They can't even turn around and make like propaganda off of something that they're supposed to.
I'm not going to say I would or I wouldn't. I mean, DeSantis is willing to sign a 5-week and 6-week ban.
Would you support that? You think that
I
goes
think what
too
he
far?
did is a terrible thing and a terrible mistake. But we'll come up with a number. But at the same time, Democrats won't be able to go out in 6 months, 7 months, 8 months and allow an abortion. And Kristen, you have to look at this because you said no.
He's right.
You have some states.
He's right. He said what DeSantis does a terrible job. Now that's great because on the one hand, he can say that now because it gets the shit on Ron DeSantis. And on the other hand, he can literally look like the moderate, reasonable one in comparison to Ron DeSantis.
States that are allowed to kill the child after birth, and you can't allow that.
But, Mr. President, again, no one is calling for a child to be killed after birth. No one's calling for that.
But you have legislation.
But let me just ask you.
Kristen, you have legislation in certain states where it's allowed.
Mr. President.
The governor of Virginia, previous governor.
It's illegal in every state. It's illegal in every state. It's illegal in every state. It's bullshit. It is illegal in every state. It's called murder and it's illegal. He's not right. This is not a correct statement. What the fuck is happening, dude? You can't just fucking make shit up. He's making shit up on television. It was a meme because America is that fucking stupid. A meme misquotes Virginia Governor Ralph Northam on a proposed abortion bill that aims to address non-viable pregnancies and severe fetal abnormalities. Northam, a pediatric neurologist, supports the bill, but the meme falsely implies he condones infanticide. That's it. That's where we're at, man. It's a fucking made-up meme calling him, the governor of Virginia, a baby killer. The infant would be delivered, kept comfortable, then terminated, is the quote. Then behind Northam, here, let me see if I can find the actual meme so you see how fucking stupid we are. In a radio interview on January 30th, 2019, Northam was questioned on his views regarding the bill. The governor was interviewed after comments made by Virginia delegate Kathy Tran on the bill's sponsor went viral online. Northam was asked to respond to Tran on the bill on the Virginia radio station. When we talk about third trimester abortions, it's done in cases where there may be severe deformities. There may be a fetus that is non-viable, Northam said. If a mother is in labor, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired. And then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother. Mother, what am I doing? I'm fucking turning into Irish. This is a non-viable fetus, okay? Pregnancy terminations on the third trimester only happen to non-viable fetuses that have severe complications for the carrier. What he's describing is what the current medical process is for a non-viable fetus. That's it. But once again, Americans are so fucking stupid that we turn around and we look at a medical process and someone describes it with gruesome terms because that's what medicine really is. In a lot of instances, medicine is gruesome if you describe it. Okay? Describe to someone how open heart surgery works and like these goddamn idiots would fucking want to ban that too. Okay? Like imagine you're breaking through someone's rib cage. You're cutting their skin. You're moving their fucking fat around. You're breaking their goddamn rib cage, okay? Specifically so you can arrive at their fucking heart, which you are going to make careful incisions with, okay? Inside of. Like, think about that. We're mutilating somebody like that, right? Yeah, it's gross. It's gross. If society operated on the boundaries of what the dumbest person thinks is gross and scary, we would have no fucking medicine. We need to ban doctors, brother. What the fuck are they doing? And honestly, that's where we're moving towards right now. That is the direction that we're heading towards, honestly. So it's great. It's going to get to a point where it's like only rich people, like the mega wealthy in like certain enclaves are going to be able to fucking get any kind of medicine whatsoever. Now, we're already there with paywalling healthcare, obviously, but But like, they're going to make it illegal. If you're a working class person, it's illegal for you to even see a doctor, okay? Yeah, Elysium. We're going to take all the doctors. We're going to ship them out to fucking space. And you can't have any. And then there's going to be idiots that are standing outside of like secret medical facilities where they're operating on people. And they're going to be protesting and trying to kill the doctors inside. You know what I mean? Because they're doing devil work. The only way to save someone is not by fucking, getting any kind of medicine. Is by worship.
Who was a whack job. I call him the Michael Jackson governor.
No one's talking about that as part of their platform. I want to know what
that governor said you can kill the baby after birth.
But Mr. President, this is about what you would do if you were reelected. As you know, you upset
We will agree to a number.
Yeah, if he's a fucking pediatric surgeon, by the way. I didn't know that. He's a pediatric neurologist. Trump should be like, well, he's a pediatric neurologist. He's touched baby dicks. Arrest them. You know what they're doing, folks, in pediatric surgery? They're touching your children. That's right. Think about it. He's opening up and mutilating your child. He's mutilating your child in the brain, directly going into his brain and changing his thoughts. Your naked child, he's touching him. And then he derives profit. He gets profit out of touching your child and touching his brain, putting his hands all over your child's brain.
Number of weeks, which will be where both sides will be happy. We have to bring the country together on this issue.
Mr. President, when you talk about negotiating, I think a lot of people think to themselves, this is an issue that they care about deeply in their hearts. They know where they stand, and they want to know where you stand. As you know, some anti-abortion groups are really looking for some clarity from you. So let me just ask you to put a fine point on this. Should the federal government impose any abortion restrictions, or should it be completely left up to the states?
No, I don't think you should be allowed to have abortions well into a pregnancy.
But what about the question I just asked you?
No, we're going to agree to a number of weeks or months or however you want to define it. And both sides are going to come together. And both sides, and this is a big statement, both sides will come together. And for the first time in 52 years, you'll have an issue that we can put behind us.
At the federal level?
Bro, that's such a crazy take, because it's like, if this was such a contentious issue where there are two different sides of this debate, then like Amy Covid Barrett wouldn't have had to lie in a congressional hearing. And Brett Kavanaugh wouldn't have had to lie in a congressional hearing that they will not overturn Roe v. Wade. Like, why did they choose to lie about it then? And said they were like, oh, this is all settled. We're not touching that. I don't get it. I thought it was settled. I thought it was not, I thought it was so contentious that Amy Covid Barrett was like, oh, we'll never touch it.
It could be state or it could be federal. I don't frankly care.
So you're not committed to a ban at the federal level?
I will say this. Everybody, including the great legal scholars, love the idea of Roe v. Wade terminated so it be brought back to the states.
It sounds like that's what you think, too, that it should remain a state issue.
I would say this. From a pure standpoint, from a legal standpoint, I think it's probably better, but I can live with it either way. It's much more important. The number of weeks is much more important. But something will happen with the number of weeks, the amount of time.
He doesn't look strong on this, though, which is kind of interesting, because being non-committal to the thing that you did while simultaneously, trying to, I think being non-committal to the thing that you literally helped accomplish is going to look weak on both ends, I think. Like for the anti-abortion crowd, the pro-lifers, they're going to look at this and go like, what is he trying to say? We want a fucking federal ban. Fuck you. And to the pro-choice crowd, he's already the devil, so I don't think they're gonna think he's like actually fucking in support of like reasonable legislation.
Time after which you can't do it, and you know what? the most powerful people that are anti-abortion are okay with that now. And you know what? They weren't okay with that even a year ago.
Your former Vice President, Mike Pence, believes that a fetus should have constitutional rights. Do you believe that, Mr.
Well,
President?
Mike Pence said something about 15 weeks, too, which was a big change for Mike Pence because Mike Pence had no exceptions. I have exceptions, by the way. I think people should have exceptions. I think if it's rape or incest or the life of the mother, I think you have to have exceptions.
Does a fetus have constitutional rights, Mr.
And a lot of
President?
people, when they don't have exceptions. Now, I will tell you that I think most people, most Republicans are willing. You go life of the mother, rape, incest. I think most of them are there.
But should a
That's a
fetus
big
have
statement.
constitutional rights, Mr. President?
Well, I don't know.
I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. Bro, if this sticks and people are just like repeating that Trump actually just wanted an argument, he just wanted a discussion around abortion, and like Republicans start championing this, I will die. I will cease to exist because I will go for a service weapon. You know what I mean? Like I like the first one that I land my eyes on, okay? I will perish. Like, this is such a fucking stupid, exceptionally stupid fucking argument to make. Oh my God. Oh my Lord.
I don't know what he's saying because before he wanted, you couldn't have abortion.
But what
at
are
all.
you saying?
Now all of
What
a
do
sudden,
you think?
excuse me. Now all of a sudden he's saying 15 weeks. I said, wow, where did that come from? That's a radical change. Look, something is going to happen.
Look how much certainty he has when speaking out against further restrictions on abortion. Like, he literally is like, no, that's crazy. But when asked, like, okay, what's your point? Why did you do this? He's like, oh, well, I didn't do it. I wanted a conversation around it. It's like, it was 50-50. It's like, no, it wasn't. Fuck you. And if you thought it was 50-50, you'd be defending it. Your support is like always been, your approval rating was always 30%. You made it seem like it was 100%. You know what I mean? It would never stop.
That's going to be good for everybody. And that's what I'm almost like a mediator in this case. They wanted Roe v. Wade terminated because it was inappropriate. We got it done. Something's going to happen. It's going to be a number of weeks. Something's going to happen where both sides are going to be able to come together. And then we'll be able to go into other things like the economy, our military.
Are you saying a federal ban with exceptions? Is that what you're saying?
What I say is very simple, because you can't put words in my mouth like that.
I
Because
just
you've been
wanna
hearing me talk
understand.
about this issue, and
Yeah.
I think talk about it very productively. It could be a state ban. It could be a federal ban. But
Yeah, this is real bad for him. Like, real bad. Actually, unironically, real bad. It's just like, it was going to be bad for everybody. And I've been wondering what his, like, counter was going to be, because he's the guy who is the best. And sometimes you can be good at reading the room, but the room is still booing at you. You know what I mean? He's stuck in a fucking bind, you know? With not much to do. How much do the evangelicals care? Brother, you think evangelicals are enough to make you president? If that was the case, Trump would have been president. Outside of like super fucking Christian fundamentalists, which make up 30% of the population, 25% to 30% of the population, no one in the United States of America is like, yeah, you should literally not let people get abortions. Like, we should criminalize it. No one. It's not a real thing. Think about it this way, okay? Abortion in general happens in the first trimester, especially so, right? Do you know that many people that are like, no, abortion is murder, actually, across the board? And if you know that many people, like, have you ever had conversations with them where they like explain their fucking opinions? Now think about how many people you know that literally think like, no, fucking let people get abortions. Like, shut the fuck up. You say, yes, my entire family, but statistically speaking, it is significantly less likely to come up with a person that is anti-abortion, even in red states, and it is pro-abortion. Not even in the state of Florida. You're wrong. People are saying state of Florida. That's not true. No. Absolutely not. You have to be in a hyper-religious fucking space in order for people to have this kind of take on abortion. It's not represented by the public. It has never been represented by the public. Republicans still get abortions. Like, it's just fucking nuts.
Democrats want that too. Democrats don't want to see abortion in the 7th month. Okay, I speak to a lot of Democrats. They want a number. There is a number, and there's a number that's going to be agreed to. And Republicans should go out and say the following, because I think the Republicans speak very inarticulately about this subject. I watched some of them without the exceptions, et cetera, et cetera. I said...
Yeah, without the exception of fucking Nikki Haley, who he can't say by name now because he just shit on her and said, she's a politician, what does she know? That's the only fucking person that, like, speaks on abortion in a way that, like, makes sense.
Other than certain parts of the country, you're not going to win on this issue, but you will win on this issue.
There's maybe one part of the country where it could work, and it's not Florida. Like, maybe like Alabama or something, or Mississippi. Like one of those fucking places. I haven't looked at each individual state. No, not in Oklahoma. No, not in Utah. No, I'm telling you, dude. No shot. You guys are, dude. You don't understand. Republican motherfuckers have affairs out of marriage. They swing like in fucking Utah. People get abortions. Not in West Virginia. No shot. There are very few places. There are very few places in the United States of America. Okay. There are very few places in the United States of America where like abortion is contentious. For the record, you're saying views on abortion by most state. I don't know which. I don't know when this take is from. Okay, but yeah, Alabama, it says 37% legal in all most cases, 58% illegal in all or most cases, and then what? Fucking 4% don't know. In most states, like in Kentucky, there you go. Great fucking question. Kentucky said 36% legal in all or most cases, 57% said illegal in all or most cases. Except this poll is not correct. You want to know why it's not correct? Because we had a fucking poll, a ballot measure in the state of Kentucky where abortion protections won. Do you see what I'm saying? They voted in the exact same way that everyone in America has voted. In fucking Kentucky, 70-30 breakdown. Yeah. Even here in Alabama, it's not all pro-life, anti-choice like you would assume. If you ask them on specifics, they usually believe in some sort of legality on abortion. Not a total ban like our state has. It's honestly more 50-50 here if you talk to people. That's what I mean. Oh. Wait. Views about abortion by state? Is this like only religious people, or is this like, this is not a poll on religious people, is it? Is it a poll across the board? That doesn't change the data. The data shows what people believe, not who's going to vote. No, that is very important. Especially because this doesn't correspond to actual polling that I've seen on single issue polls, especially recent ones in a lot of states, including red ones, where the breakdown is not like even 30%, 40%, 50%. Like this poll shows that California, 57% of Californians believe that it should be legal. Like it's ridiculous. This poll is definitely old as fuck. There's no shot. Yeah, it says it was conducted in 2014. I've looked at this. I've looked at this poll, like not this one, but I've looked at polls like this from individual states, and I've also looked at something that's more significant than polls, a fucking election. Elections are very important. Polls are only as important as how well they can predict elections, chatters. Remember, okay? And the states poised to put new restrictions on abortion. People tend to say that abortion should be mostly or fully illegal based on New York Times analysis of large national surveys taken over the last decade. Okay, a lot of these are still old-ass polls, man. They haven't done it recently. There's no fucking shot. Oh, Louisiana, mostly legal, 36%. Net support, minus 23 for a trigger ban, yes. Arkansas, minus 19. Maybe they shouldn't have polled this shit to get owned by voting. Well, actually, I guess like they did poll these, and it doesn't even fucking matter because these people were so stupid, and that's why they put this on the ballot in a lot of places where they realized, oh shit, this actually is not working out at all. There's not a single state where the support on a federal ban of abortion. I mean, this is from Data for Progress, to be fair. New polling in Alabama shows primary voters split on abortion, Roe v. Wade, from 2022. In Alabama, a plurality, 48% of voters say the Alabama legislature should make abortion harder to access, which doesn't mean full-blown fucking criminalization. 28% say lawmakers should make it easier to access, and 24% say lawmakers should not pass abortion laws. Even in bumfuck fucking Alabama, it's like, that is where it's actually contentious, I guess. It's nuts. An issue that is actually fucking contentious would be like 90% approval in Alabama and 50-50 in other places. Or, you know, no approval in California, full approval in Alabama. Not 50-50 in certain places and like 60-40 to 70-30 everywhere else. That's why red states, okay, are literally doing the most, the absolute most. Like in Ohio, no on issue 1 was exactly what I was thinking of. So Ohio recognized, oh fuck, putting abortion on a ballot as a ballot measure is going to drive an insane amount of people to go out and vote, an insane amount of people to go out and vote against us. Okay? Like the abortion further criminalizing, you interpret polls in a very uneducated way, says Huge Johnson, BBC. Once again, I hate Trump, but how many polls had him winning? People that participate in polls want to be in polls. I love that. Thank you, Huge Johnson, BBC. Please give me your educated perspective on polls, Huge Johnson, BBC. Huge Johnson, BBC, the type of motherfucker to be like, this poll only sampled 3,000 people, so clearly it didn't sample every single person. It's a bad poll. Anyway, yeah, issue 1 in a red state like Ohio passed with around 60% approval, a 60% supermajority. Or, sorry, the 60% supermajority was the constitutional amendment thing, okay? But it did pass with 60% approval. That's a red state. And this wasn't even just on abortion. This was actually an issue. Okay, Ohio's not really a red state. It's a swing state. Suck my dick. Ohio, the Ohio Republican Party recognized that if they put abortion as a ballot measure in Ohio in the upcoming elections, that they're going to get fucking cooked. Okay? So, instead of like having a special election on, specifically the abortion thing, they decided to secretly make it harder to put ballot provisions on elections. Okay? This was called Issue 1, where the defeat on Issue 1 on Tuesday keeps place a simple majority threshold for passing future constitutional amendments rather than the 60% supermajority that was proposed. Its supporters said the higher bar would protect the state's foundational document from outside interest groups. That's how they sold it. The real reason why they did this is because they wanted to make it as hard as possible to impose any constitutional amendments surrounding abortion, because abortion was going to be on the ballot as a constitutional amendment. Okay? Why did they not want this? Because they know that they were going to lose, and they are most likely going to lose on this issue especially, and that abortion being on the fucking ballot gets more people on the Democratic side to go out and vote than the Republican side. And that's how you lose a fucking election, because when they go to protect abortion and vote to protect abortion, because Americans love voting on ballot measures, they end up voting blue up and down the ticket. And then, it makes it much harder for Republicans to control the state of Ohio. So they tried to stop that from even being on the ballot by trying to implement this. And even that, which wasn't directly on abortion, but fought on abortion boundaries, got 60% support. Okay? 60%. So, yeah, Americans are definitely very aware of abortion rights being taken away from them and are not very happy about it. There are a lot of people who vote Republican up and down the ticket and still want to be able to have abortions. There's a lot of people who think, like, it's not up to me. Why should it be up to me? I should have no say on this. The government should not interfere in my affairs. Okay? Not a contentious issue.
When you come up with the right number of weeks, because Democrats don't want to be radical on the issue. Most of them, some do. They don't want to be radical on the issue. They don't want to kill a baby in the 7th month or the 9th month or after birth. And they're allowed to do that, and you can't do that.
I have a very robust foreign policy section to get to.
Okay.
I do want to give you an opportunity to talk about some of your legal challenges. So if we could do that first, and then we'll move on to foreign policy. You are facing 4 indictments.
Biden indictment.
Yeah, look at this. Legal under any circumstance, 34%. Legal under certain circumstances, 51%. Illegal in all circumstances, 13%. 13%. Alabama's abortion provisions are tailored towards the 13% of the population. Okay? Legal under any, 34. Legal under most, 13. Legal in only a few, 36. Illegal in all, 13%. Most Americans oppose the Dobbs decision. In line with Americans wanting abortion to be legal to some degree, 61% currently say that overturning Roe v. Wade was a bad thing, while 38% call it a good thing. Those views are similar to what Gallup measured in 2022 when asking about Roe hypothetically being overturned, as well as more than 30 years of trends showing opposition to overturning Roe. Now, the irony here, of course, is that it's very stupid to have this conversation because we're not even having a conversation about the morality of the situation. Because the morality of the situation dictates that regardless of what the fuck people have to say about abortion, that this decision should be left to a doctor and the carrier. Okay? Not a doctor, carrier, and the fucking mayor. Not a doctor, the carrier, and, Donald Trump. Not a doctor, the woman, and, your pastor. No, just a doctor and a woman. Mother equals carrier. Yeah, you fucking absolute baboon. Of course, I'm not saying mother and I'm saying carrier. Because you want to know what happens? What should have happened to you, for example? You should have been aborted, okay? Therefore, your mom would not have been a mom, but simply a fucking carrier. We know you said it like 3 times just now. You conveniently don't mention that most voters don't want unrestricted abortion laws. You conveniently don't mention that most voters don't want unrestricted abortion laws. Most Americans want some restrictions, especially in late-term pregnancies. Hey, jackass. I don't give a fuck. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, yes, if you want to stop abortions from happening in the 3rd trimester, okay, fine. Go ahead. Except you're only stopping people from being able to get this as a medical process when they most likely wanted to carry the pregnancy to term. The only thing you're punishing is people who wanted to have a child, okay? People do not get, like, abortions for fun at the 3rd trimester. It's so stupid. This is such an idiotic fucking argument from dumbass Republicans that make it seem like the less than 1% of abortions that happen in the 3rd trimester are happening due to fun. Like, love getting an aborabo on the 3rd trimester. Gonna go to the abortion factory again. Love to do it. It's my favorite thing. Okay? Like, what do you think? People just do it for fun? Is that what you think? Please, go ahead. Explain this to me. I'm unbanning you specifically because I want to hear what your perspective is. There is not a single state in the United States of America where abortions are legally permissible in the 3rd trimester unless there is a health complication to the carrier or the fucking fetus. Now, if you were smart enough, you would at least say, well, doctors consider psychological disorders to be a healthcare complication for the carrier, which allows people to have a 3rd trimester abortions, even if it's not that significant. And then at that point, you and I could discuss the semantics of like whether or not psychological harm meets the metric for medical intervention. Okay? But we're not doing that because you're a fucking idiot. Because Republicans are fucking stupid and they don't even know their talking points. Because they don't need to know their talking points because they're so fucking dumb. So they could just get away with being like, they want to fucking murder babies. And then all the fucking dumbass, goo-goo, gaga-ass, donkey brain Republicans go, oh, they want to murder babies. Bro, I'm just saying, don't manipulate the stats. You say people vote for abortion. You don't mention that most people support certain restrictions. That's all I'm saying. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Dude, make better arguments. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Shut the fuck up. The counter to what he would have said in that situation, not you, dumbass chatter who thinks I'm manipulating statistics. You're a dumb fuck and irrelevant. Your point is irrelevant in this situation. You're not giving any good arguments here. You're just fucking trying to have a pedantic ass semantics conversation because you're a fucking baboon, okay? I hate that. It's just like, I just want to talk because I want to hear my voice in the fucking stupid ass chat. That's it. That's what you're doing. Most debate perverts do this. They don't actually even bring up good talking points. Okay? I had to argue with myself because you didn't bring up any good talking points. You just said, you're massaging the narrative. Shut the fuck up. Okay? The better argument for Republicans on the legislative agenda would be, instead of lying, okay, would be to say what I just told you. Okay? I would say it's not legal in any of the states where a woman can go and get a 3rd trimester abortion. Okay? Then they would say, that's not true. It is legal in certain states. And I would say, which states? And then they would say, in certain states like New York, for example, you can get a 3rd trimester abortion if you can get a 3rd trimester abortion, to which I would respond, well, that's only allowed, that's only legally permissible if the person has a issue, like a medical issue that requires medical intervention. It could be a psychological disorder. It could be a genuine issue like an ectopic pregnancy. It could be an issue like there's no viability outside of the carrier. So those are the legally permissible circumstances where in the state of New York you can have an abortion. Now, even with all of that, abortions in the 3rd trimester across the board in the United States of America make up for 1% of abortions. And every single one of those circumstances has to be because medical intervention was a necessity to continue the life of the carrier, the mother to be. Okay? Do you think that's appropriate to ban? And in that situation, if you say, yes, I think it's still inappropriate, and I think that we should still ban it, well, then you're a psychopath. You've revealed your actual true position. That's it. We should be able to acknowledge that there are a few hundred third trimester abortions a year that are for reasons other than health, like the carrier didn't know they were pregnant. Yeah, that is such an insanely fucking low number that it does not require having a conversation around. If you write legislation on 300 random occurrences that are also caused directly as a consequence of what do you call it? Directly a consequence of not having access to preventative care, okay? Not having access to like abortion facilities, or not having access to sex education and whatnot, then it's like an idiotic self-defeating argument to make, okay? I don't care. I'm not going to talk about like 10 fucking people that got an abortion in the third trimester because they didn't even know they were fucking pregnant, okay? This is like a medical phenomena. That's insane, dude. No, that is the dumb libtard debate pervertry tendency to just like talk about the erroneous minutia, not realizing that the overwhelming majority of Americans would, when they hear that, would go, oh, that's it, you lost the argument. Okay? That's not a thing that you voluntarily bring up, debate perverts. Know how to do better debate. Once again, it doesn't matter because technically in the law, because if you want to do that argument, it's like legality over morality. The law says you can't get a fucking abortion because you forgot that you were pregnant, okay? You have to make an argument to your medical professional that this is going to harm you.
Excuse me, Biden political indictments. He said to the Attorney General,
he's had nothing to do with it.
He said to the Attorney General, indict him. They put in the New York DA case, which everybody admits isn't even a case.
Mr. President.
They're Biden
there's
indictments.
No proof of that.
You know what? He started something that's a very slippery slope. He said, I've got a guy that's beating me in the polls. I'm beating all the Republicans by a lot, and I'm beating him by a lot. I have somebody that's beating me in the polls. Indict him. And they, not only that, they took their top person in the Department of Justice and put him into the Manhattan DA's office. They're dealing with Fannie Willis all the time.
Mr. President, the Attorney General appointed a special counsel to investigate you, President Biden, and President Biden's son, Hunter, who was also indicted today. But I do want to move...
President Biden does not fall within the Presidential Records Act. And frankly, you don't ever hear anything about the special counsel. But they gave me this deranged person named Jack Smith. He's a deranged lunatic. I fall within the Presidential Records Act. It's very simple. It's a civil thing. In fact,
Well, if women are getting abortions in the third trimester, there needs to be a mental therapist involved. Yeah. No, you can't. You've clearly never been through the process of getting an abortion. Trust me, they force you to think about it a lot. If it's in the third trimester, it's not about a psych evaluation. It's about physical necessity. No, there are instances where there's like less than 100 instances where people have gotten abortions when it's not like directly a physical need, okay? Like it's not an ectopic pregnancy. It's not a pregnancy where like the fetus is not viable outside of the womb, is like choked out in the fucking umbilical cord or whatever, and they couldn't save it. Okay? In that situation, the justification for it is a psychiatric evaluation, as far as I understand it. Okay? But again, we're talking about literally like 20 individual actions, okay? It's fucking ridiculous. 1% of abortions happen in the third trimester, and the number of how many abortions that happen in the third trimester are not directly necessary medical interventions because their fetus is non-viable outside of the fucking womb is so marginal that it's very stupid.
The New York Times, of all institutions, did a story, and it was headlined, "Please, please, please, Mr. President, could we take a look at the documents?" And they said in the story that the only way you can get documents from a president is if you go there and say please, because this is civil. And they won't even have a lawsuit. They may have a civil lawsuit at most, but they probably don't even have a civil lawsuit. And this should...
Again, it's really funny because Trump is the reason why those the crime that he committed has a worse offense because of his own actions. In an effort to make it seem like he gave a shit about Hillary Clinton's documents without actually arresting him, he literally made the misdemeanor a felony.
It never have been an indictment. There's no criminal. Now, there is criminal for Joe Biden because he was a senator.
This is my favorite argument. It's like, what I did is not allowed. What I did, I was allowed to do it, but Biden, he was not allowed. It's the best. It's the fucking best. They should not prosecute me. Biden, he didn't even do what I did. He did something much worse.
Senator, and he was a vice president.
Well, the charges you're facing don't have anything to do with the Presidential Records Act. But let me ask my question so we can get to foreign policy.
Wait a minute. This comes within the Presidential Records Act. That's what it's about.
Let me just ask these questions, and then we can move on to some other topics. You are facing 4 indictments, 91 felony charges.
If you would say it properly, I'm facing 4 Biden indictments. He told the Justice Department to indict him, or Merrick Garland said, let's indict him.
Let me ask you this, Mr. President.
They indicted their political opponent.
I just want to hear from you on this. I want to know what's in your head. When you go to bed at night, do you worry about going to jail?
No, I don't, really. I don't even think about it. I'm built a little differently, I guess, because I have had people come up to me and say, hey.
That's awesome, dude. Come on. Why? That's such a dumb question. He just fucking popped on that. I'm back. I'm voting for Trump. Sorry. He's so back. I gotta run that back. That's
you on this. I want to know what's in your head. When you go to bed at night, do you worry about going to jail?
No, I don't, really. I don't even think about it. I'm built a little differently, I guess, because I have had people come up to me and say, how do you do it, sir? How do you do it? I don't even think about it. These are corrupt people that I'm dealing with. They're destroying our country. I don't even think about it. All I think about is making the country great, making America great. Look, these are political, these are Banana Republic indictments. These are third world indictments. The President of the United States sees how we're doing. We have a movement, the likes of which has never happened in this country before.
These are Banana Republic indictments.
I mean, I'm up on these people by 60 points and 59 points. I don't mean I'm at 59. I'm leading them by 59. You almost say, like, why are they campaigning? Asa Hutchinson, he's at 0. Christie's at 2. Other ones are at 1. DeSanctimonious is at 9. I just see a poll coming. I mean, I'm leading him by 60 points.
Mr. President.
And you say, why are they doing it? But here's what they did. They saw this happening. And he went to the Attorney General of the United States, and he told them, indict Trump.
There's just no evidence of that, Mr.
Why?
President.
Because you mean
but let's stay on track.
Look at all the lies.
I mean, like, why are you saying that now? Where was this energy? I mean, I don't falter for saying it now, but where was the energy about the abortion thing when he was like, it's 50-50. Many people love criminalizing abortion, folks. Like, why are you pushing back so hard when fucking, when it's about big boy Brandon, and how he told his fucking attorney general to indict Trump? Like, obviously, that's also fake. But so is all the other shit that he said.
Mr. President, I want to talk about
Kristen, wait a minute. Wait. Could I say one thing? Look at all the lies he's told over the last couple of weeks. He said he was at the World Trade Center, and he wasn't. He said he flew airplanes, right? He didn't. He
said tell him, dude. He flew an airplane into the Twin Towers, he said.
Trucks, and he didn't. Everything he says is like a lie. It's terrible.
Mr. President,
even his handicap in golf, he said he's a 6. He's not a 6.
I want to stay focused on you.
Okay.
For the purposes of this interview, okay? Because it's important that we hear from you about all of this.
I'd like you to, but you keep interrupting me.
Tell me, Mr. President, tell me what you see when you look at your mugshot.
I see somebody that loves this country in me, that loves this country. I see tremendous unfairness. I think very few people would have been able to handle what I handled. When I was coming down the escalator with Melania, I was already under investigation because they saw how well I was doing in the polls. And it just got worse and worse. And we caught them. We said they were spying on our campaign. It turned out to be true. They had the fake dossier. That turned out to be true. It was paid for by the Democrat Party. It was all fiction. All of these things happened. Impeachment hoax number 1, impeachment hoax number 2. I've been treated very badly. and I've won every single time. When you say, do I sleep? I sleep. I sleep because I truly feel that in the end, we're going to win. I think we're going to win an election the likes of which nobody's ever seen before. I don't think anything's going to stop it. Nothing's going to stop it because people see what's happened to our country. We're not respected in the world. Look at other countries. Look at what's happened.
Bro, he's literally doing the same. You said this the last time. Brother, you said this the last time. Top to bottom, every single thing is the same shit.
Everybody's going to the side of China, Russia, Saudi Arabia.
Folks, I heard this HasanAbi guy. He's on the Leftovers podcast, folks. It's a big-time right-wing podcast. They say they're domestic terrorists. Now he's pro-China. Now he's pro-China. Ethan Klein, folks. He needs to do a better job defending America, folks.
Talk about that.
No,
Mr. President, I want to delve into foreign policy, but let's get through this, and then I want to talk to you about all of those issues you just talked about, Mr. President. By the way, do you think your former chief of staff, Mark Meadows, is still loyal to you? He just pleaded not guilty in the Georgia
Well, I hope he's loyal to me. I mean,
do you worry about him flipping?
Wrong.
Do you worry
I didn't
about
do
him?
anything wrong.
Okay, let's talk about Georgia. I want to talk about that phone call that you made to Georgia's Secretary of State, a Republican, Brad Raffensperger.
That was even more perfect than my call to.
Let's talk about it.
The president of Ukraine.
Okay.
It was a perfect call. Just before you start, many top legal scholars, almost everyone, but many have analyzed that phone call. That was a phone call made in front of, I guess, 7 or 8 lawyers. Brad Raffensperger, the head, who, by the way, last week said, I didn't do anything wrong. He said that was a negotiation. Brad Raffensperger, who I was dealing with, I appreciate that he said that, but he said last week, I didn't do anything wrong.
Let's talk about it so we can move on. You said in the call.
Let me just tell you one other thing.
Okay, this is huge. This is huge. This is good. Come on.
I spoke. I knew I was probably being taped. I didn't ask, but I knew
and I still did it because I'm a fucking idiot.
I was probably being taped. You know, they illegally taped me because they taped me in Florida. It's a 2-party state. You know that, right? So they illegally taped the
dog. You're the president. What are you saying? Bro, what? You're the fucking president. Calling up the fucking Secretary of State. Like what? Or the Lieutenant Governor. Like what are you saying? That's awesome. I mean, I don't know what to say about that. Baby, stop asking to move on and just move on. He doesn't respect you. Act accordingly. Calling the fucking Meet the Press CNN anchor, MSNBC anchor or NBC anchor, a baby is pretty funny.
Call. But forget about that for a second. I knew that there were many lawyers on the phone from the other side. There were many people. There were many people on the phone. When I told them, I said the election was rigged. I said all.
He's like, do you really think, I want Trump to ask the question, do you really think I would say something openly criminal in front of a major phone call that I assumed was being recorded? Because the answer is yes. Like, quite frankly, the answer is fuck yes. Absolutely yes. I think you would do that. But I want him to ask that question, and I want her to turn around and go, yeah, actually, I do. You kind of have a record for this sort of thing. It's just, this is what you do. This is like the most Trump thing you do. You do it all the time. You love doing it.
All sorts of things about the election,
and
which I believe it 100%.
They told you it wasn't.
No, I have all the facts. Look, I have all the facts. In one way.
It's like, why are you coming to me? Am I your fucking doctor? Am I your gynecologist? Do I look like I'm an OBGYN? The only pussy I'm familiar with is your mom's, chatter. Okay? Calm down.
Trial, because it was so dishonest, okay, so rigged, and such a dangerous thing for our country. We have to have borders, and we have to have fair elections. We have neither.
But I want to talk about the border. I want to talk about the border, but we have to get through this.
Brad Raffensperger, who again last week said I didn't do anything wrong.
Well, it
Brad
sounded like you were
Raffensperger
asking for him to
said
come
it was
up with
a negotiation.
11,000 votes.
No.
11,780 votes. One more than we have right now. I know it by heart because it was the perfect phone call. Okay? No, not 11,000. 11,780.
And you know that. You're off to a bad start because what I said was very simple. I got cheated in this election.
He told you
and
didn't.
All I need is like 11,000, whatever the number was.
Brad Raffensperger, who's a Republican, said you didn't get cheated.
Well, he said that, but...
He said he got cheated. All I need is 11,000 whatever. Bitch, you know how many votes you needed. You said it specifically. Don't try to fucking act like you don't remember. Very specific number of votes. Don't try to fucking act like, oh, my memory is hazy on this. You know what you fucking did. Come on now. It's like if I was literally telling you that at the top of the hour there isn't a 3-minute ad break or however many minutes it takes. I don't know. I don't remember. It's like, no, I know. I know exactly how many minutes of ads I'm going to serve you. It's 3. Now, if you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe, which you could do for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime. You can also get gifted a sub if you're lucky. Here's a 3-minute ad break now.
We have to go and see. You know, there's some court cases out there. We want to go into Fulton County and we want to see the real votes. And it's so hard.
He said they looked into it. The election had been certified 3 times.
I don't want them. I want to look
Flucky, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. B. Bonjuk, thank you for the 20 gifted subs.
into it. I would say that if we got access to the votes, which we're close to getting in court, as you know, if we got access to those votes, if we look in, you will find numbers that you wouldn't believe. More importantly, though, let me just say this.
I want to get through this, Mr. President.
Kristen, you have to just hear me out for 1 second.
Foreign policy section.
We had, because you say something and then you want to go into the next subject. We had many people in the line. When I said, I spoke for an hour. I knew that many people were in the line. I knew that it was I happen to be a really smart person. Who is going to be talking badly when I have lawyers and many other people on the line? Nobody's going to say something bad, but if it was bad, why didn't they say, sir, that was very inappropriate of you to say? Nobody said that. Nobody said, sir. It was only a long time after the call that somebody said, oh, maybe he said something wrong.
They said, sir, there's no evidence.
This is a hoax, just like Russia, just like Ukraine. There's a hoax. Let me tell you, I spoke to them on the phone, and it was left, I think, something to the effect, okay, we'll get together tomorrow. Nobody said, sir, you shouldn't speak. If I said something incorrect, one of the lawyers for the state of Georgia, which I love, one of those lawyers would have said, sir, you'll have to take that back. That's an inappropriate statement.
The Republican Secretary of State said there.
That's awesome. I mean, I'm willing to bet, first of all, some of these people that were on this call are like either, 1, your co-defendants, or 2, literally state witnesses. So I wouldn't be fucking popping off like this if I were you. In this otherwise televised debate, we're going to find out a lot about the situation, okay? So that's kind of cool that he's giving that to me. I like that, personally. Okay, I personally appreciate that. Is he not cooked? I mean, him being actually cooked and him being him facing any like serious scrutiny are 2 entirely separate realities. Okay, do I feel as though Trump will? I'm not certain that Trump is going to get serious legal repercussions from this, like actually go to jail. That doesn't mean that he's not like actually dead to rights. You know what I mean?
Evidence to fraud. He said he'd looked into it. The election had been certified 3 times when you made that call.
Talking about a different subject. If I said something wrong on the call, he or one of his many lawyers that were on the call would have said, it's inappropriate what you just said. Nobody said that. We had a normal phone call.
They said there's no evidence of fraud.
He also said, I did nothing wrong last week.
Do you have any regrets about that call?
No.
Whatsoever?
None whatsoever.
Okay.
I called to complain about an election.
Okay.
And I have every right to do that. Do you think I have a right to complain about an election?
You have a right to take your case to court, which you did 60 times.
No.
Okay, we're back. We're back in it. She was pissing me off originally with her fucking lack of defenses for the abortion shit, but like, God, these people are such demons, dude. I take it back. The media is so fucking awful. She had no smoke for actually important things. And she has so much smoke for this, like, otherwise, media fancy story. Hasan, why are you being a misogynist? Because I hate women, dude. I hate women. That's why I love abortions, because I want women to be able to, murder female fetuses. That's why. I'm literally a fan of abortions, because I hate women that much. Okay? Because carrying a pregnancy to term, even if you don't want to, is the most beautiful thing that could ever happen to a woman. And I want to rob women of that joy. Okay. That's why I want to rob women of the joy of childbirth. That's why I'm pro-abortion. Finally, it comes out. I said it.
I didn't do 60 times. They wouldn't hear it based on all sorts of crazy. They wouldn't hear. We never got a trial. Judges would look at stuff, say, I'm not getting involved. They didn't want to get involved.
Let's keep moving so we get through.
If you take a look at the evidence, we have so much evidence. If you take a look at the evidence, even you I could convince.
You were going to hold that press conference, but you never did with the evidence.
No, because I'm using it in my court case instead.
Okay. I want to ask you about the case related to Mar-a-Lago. A new charge suggests you asked a staffer to delete security camera footage so it wouldn't get into the hands of investigators. Did you do that? It's false.
But let me tell you what.
Would you testify to that under oath?
I'll testify.
You testify to that under oath?
It's a fake charge by this deranged lunatic prosecutor who lost in the Supreme Court 9-0, and he tried to destroy lots of lives. He's a lunatic. So it's a fake charge. But more importantly, the tapes weren't deleted. In other words, there was nothing done to them. And they were my tapes. I could have fought them. I didn't even have to give them the tapes, I don't think. I think I would have won in court. When they asked for the tapes, I said, sure, they're my tapes. I could have fought them. I didn't even have to give them. Just so you understand, though,
they're my tapes.
Didn't delete anything. Nothing was deleted.
He's winning the hoarder vote for sure after this one, though. Like, the principles that he has unconditionally defended thus far throughout this entire process have been just to be a hoarder. Like, he's got my vote, dude. There's a lot of shit that I just don't want to fucking throw out, I feel that. Like, look behind me, okay? It's like, do I need the literal, like, paper fan that a Japanese fan gave to me in Japan that I brought back to the United States of America? No. But it's got value for me, so I'm keeping it, okay?
So that's false. The people who testified.
Number one, the statement is false. Much more importantly, when the tapes came, and everybody says this, they weren't deleted. We gave them 100%.
Okay.
And just so you know, I offered them. I said, if you want to look at tapes, you can look at them.
Let's move on to January 6th and the allegations that you tried to subvert the election. And again, I just want to give you a chance to talk about this because voters want to hear about this. The most senior lawyers in your own administration and on your campaign told you that after you'd lost more than 60 legal challenges, that it was over. Why did you ignore them and decide to listen to a new outside group?
Because I didn't respect them.
You'd hired them.
Sure, but that doesn't mean, you hire them. You never met these people. You get a recommendation. They turn out to be rhinos or they turn out to be not so good. In many cases, I didn't respect them. But I did respect others. I respected many others that said the election was rigged. Look, we have many people, and it's my choice. I happen to know that the election was rigged. Okay, I know it because I have there's so much proof of ballot stuffing. It's amazing. Right just a little while ago, in terms of the modern history, where the 51 intelligence agents said very specifically they lied. They all lied. And they said about the laptop that it was Russia disinformation. That was a lie. That had a huge impact on the election. In fact, the pollsters say over 10 points. I didn't need 10 points. I needed 1/10 of a point. If you take a look at the Twitter files, with the FBI and Twitter dealing. That had a huge impact on the election. Just those things. But in addition to that, you have ballot stuffing.
Yeah, dude. It's totally... Yeah, no, he's so right on that. If everybody saw Hunter Biden's cock, like, Americans would definitely vote for Donald Trump. Like, they would have turned around and been like, wow, that's it. I'm voting for Donald Trump now. I saw Hunter Biden's cock. Thank God for Twitter files. Like, they showed the truth.
You have a lot of
when you say you needed 1/10 of a point. You needed 1/10 of a point.
I needed a very small.
To win?
I think somebody said 22,000 votes.
To win?
Yeah. If you divide it among the states, it was 22,000.
You coping hard? Me? Why would I be coping? Dude. Brother. Brandon is the fucking president. Okay? You understand? You understand? Let me explain something to you. Okay?
If you look at all of the statistics, all of the votes, they say 22,000 votes, over millions and millions of votes, 22,000 votes. So when they do Twitter files, or when they have 51 intelligence agents come out and lie that the laptop from hell was Russia disinformation, and now
this is like, okay, you're basically Hillary Rodham Clinton. Okay, you're basically Hillary Rodham fucking Clinton engaging in like incredible amounts of copium at that point. And this is just sad. Okay, this is fucking sad. He's like, oh, I was so close to winning and I lost because like enough people didn't see Hunter Biden's penis. And if enough people had seen Hunter Biden's cock, they literally would have been like, oh yeah, I can't vote for Joe Biden because he probably has a similar cock, right? Which in and of itself is like pure copium and also was tested, right? It's not like Donald Trump didn't bring up the Hunter Biden shit. He did. It actually humanized Joe Biden when he brought it up in an election, made him look like a fucking sociopath, where he literally was like, yeah, well, your son's a fucking, drug addict. Your son's a drug addict. And Biden fucking put his head down and was like, listen, my son has been battling with addiction. It's been a lifelong struggle, but, he's recovering, and I'm very proud of him. And that was a moment for Biden, that humanized him. Wait, did they actually compare cocks? Yeah, they did. Yeah, Brandon was like, look alive, Jack, my son's dick is massive. So is mine. Oh, my God, dude. Oh, my God, shut the fuck up. Yes, it's pre-recorded. It's pre-recorded. I am predestined to ban you at this very moment. This is a pre-recorded fucking video.
Now they find out it's not, but they knew that at the time. They cheated on the election in that way, too.
I just want to be clear, though. Are you saying you needed those votes in order to win? Are you acknowledging you didn't win?
I'm not acknowledging. No, I say I won the election.
Okay. Even though, again, your lawyers told you did not.
No.
Did you? Just let me understand.
Some people told me that, okay. But many people told me the opposite.
You called some of your outside lawyers. You said they had crazy theories. Why were you listening?
He did. Now some of them are his co-defendants, by the way. But this is true. He did say that about, what's her name? Sidney Powell. He literally said that. He even said that about Michael Pillow. I'm beginning to feel like Trump is actually the fake friend, a big phony, if you will. Because usually, real ones don't fucking, they don't do this kind of shit.
Because they were telling you what you wanted to hear?
You know who I listened to myself? I saw what happened. I watched that election, and I thought the election was over at 10 o'clock in the evening.
You were listening to your instincts.
My instincts are a big part of it. That's been the thing that's gotten me to where I am, my instincts. But I also listen to people. There are many lawyers. I could give you many books. There are books that are written on how the election was rigged. There are numerous books that were written on how the election was rigged.
Just to be clear, were you listening to your lawyer's advice, or were you listening to your own instincts?
I was listening to different people, and when I added it all up, the election was rigged. There are books
were you
that
calling
are written.
Shots, though?
In fact, Molly Hemingway wrote a great book.
But were you
called
calling
Rigged.
the shots ultimately?
Excuse me. Molly Hemingway.
Mm-hmm.
She's like trying to sneak in, help for the prosecution here. She's like, were you calling the shots? Would you say you're a shot caller, Mr. President?
Was highly respected and great. She wrote a book, a best-selling book called Rigged.
Were you calling the shots, though, Mr. President, ultimately?
As to whether or not I believed it was rigged, oh, sure.
Okay.
It was my decision, but I listened to some people. Some people said that. Like guys like Bill Barr, he was a stiff, but he wasn't there at the time. But he didn't do his job because he was afraid. You know what he was afraid of? He was afraid of being impeached. He was petrified to be impeached. And how do you not get impeached? Don't do anything.
We've heard so much, Mr. President, about that day, the actual day of January 6th, from other people. Yeah. But quite frankly, we haven't heard from you about your own perceptions of how that day unfolded. Sure. We've heard you talk about the rally. And I'm curious about what happened when you got back to the White House. I know you spent most of the day in the dining room. What were you doing in there? How were you watching it unfold?
So let me just tell you about January 6th. First of all, I had very little to do with January 6th. I was asked to speak. And I was the President of the United States. I'm allowed to do that. But I was asked to speak. Other groups, I think it was women's groups, a lot of people were involved in that. And it was incredible. It was incredible. It was, I think, the largest group I've ever spoken. You never see that. You never see pictures of the group that I was speaking to. I think it was the most people and I've spoken to some very large groups. Hundreds of thousands of people were there, and it was a beautiful, beautiful sight. But just so you understand, I went and I spoke. And by the way, peacefully and patriotically, and all of that which wasn't reported, but when I spoke, I have had senators go up. They said, I've never heard you speak so moderately. You were very moderate.
What happened when you got back to the White House?
Well, wait, let me just say. So I spoke. And then I went back. I wanted to go down peacefully and patriotically to the Capitol. Secret Service, who I have great respect for, said, sir, it's better if you don't do that. It could be unsafe. Because they didn't mean because of riots, because, it takes one guy with bad intentions, okay? So I didn't have a dispute with them. You had that one person said, I grabbed the man around the neck. Actually, I wish I was so strong to be able to do that. These are all tough guys, smart guys.
So dispute that account.
Dispute it? Who wouldn't dispute it? She's the craziest account I've ever heard. You mean that I was in the Beast, and she said I was in the Beast, and the Secret Service didn't win. So I took a guy who was like a black belt in karate and grabbed his neck and tried to choke him.
What happened?
How ridiculous. Just so you understand. And I have great respect for Secret Service, by the way. They're fantastic. The Secret Service said, sir, it would be better if you did. And I said, I'd love to do it. They said it would be better until we went back to the White House. Just so you understand, I spoke. I made a very nice speech. I wasn't Maxine Waters that calls for people's death and some of these. Take a look at what these other people say.
What happened
it's
when
so
you got
ridiculous.
to the White House, though? Where did you watch all of the events unfold?
Much more importantly, I offered 2 or 3 days before, 10,000 soldiers, right? And they were going to go because everybody was telling me, I knew it was going to be big in terms of the crowd, because everybody I spoke to said, hey, I'm going down on January 6th. I'm going down. I'm going to listen to your speech, etc. And there were other speakers. I wasn't the only speaker. There were many speakers. But wait a minute. I offered 10,000 people to the mayor of Washington, D.C., Nancy Pelosi, both of them, Nancy Pelosi and to the mayor of Washington. And they turned it down flat. And the police commissioner was very nasty about it to her. And he testified. And here's what happened. The January 6th unselect committee of thugs and horrible people, the unselect committee.
This is the part where it's like, this is the type of shit that I don't think, I don't think like Trump supporters and especially not like Meet the Press watchers are going to appreciate, because it's so boring. Like this is like old bits that need to die if Trump wants to make an impact, but he's still crying. You know what I mean? Bro is a communist. He has millions and spends it on fancy cars and sits on his ass 24/7, making thousands every day. You make me sick, bro. No, bro is a orange. I don't understand why this makes you sick. Like, shouldn't you love that? Like, aren't you a capitalist then? If I'm a communist, right, and you hate that, then shouldn't you be literally a capitalist? In which case, like, what do you think capital accumulation is? Even on your own twisted fucking worldview, like, I'm at least like sitting here, people are giving me money rather than like me sitting on fucking money and making it work by, I don't know, being a landlord or some shit. That's why I always say, like, hey, listen, like, okay, I'm a capitalist then. Go ahead. What changed about anything that I'm arguing on behalf of? Sure. You know, I'm a capitalist. Okay, let's have a conversation about like what I'm doing that's wrong. Not necessarily some like values that you've ascribed to socialism, communism, or capitalism. So I'm twisted just because I'm right wing? I never said that. You know? Splinter Discourse really got riled up today. Yeah, there's been a concerted effort in you know, brigading happening all around the fucking place, but who cares? I didn't say that. I don't know if you're twisted. You might be. You said in your twisted worldview. Do you think that means you're twisted? I'm saying in your worldview, which I believe is distorted, okay, in accordance to mine, in comparison to mine, okay, like opposite world, okay? I'm not saying you're twisted. I'm saying your worldview implies that communism is wrong, which I assume means that you are a capitalist. I see this all the time from people. Like, they'll literally be like, Hasan exploits his fucking editors or some shit. And people will be like, that's not true. But even if it was fucking true, like, you know, you're over here arguing on behalf of, like, you know, other people exploit. Like, I can see your Reddit account. You think exploitation is not a problem. So why the fuck are you, like, fake chirping about some perceived hypocrisy about Hasan? So it's not an issue when, like, other companies do it, but it's an issue when Hasan does it? Like, what? So you don't have an issue with it at all. You just don't want to. You just don't want Hasan to do it. You know, it's so stupid. It's like, what are we doing here? Okay. So you don't have an issue with exploitation. You have an issue with me, and it's also stupid because, like, again, it's not even true. I've been in this community for more than 3 years. People have been bringing the editor's takes since my first day here. Yeah, it's just like ridiculous. It has never stopped. Anyway.
Destroyed all the evidence.
They say they didn't do that. We did ask them. We did ask the January 6th committee.
Same, almost 3 years. Bro, it was a lie back then, and it's still a lie. That has never stopped. House, car, went to a brothel that was raided for tax evasion, but we're going to fucking lie and say he sex trafficked minors or some shit. It's just like they've only compounded on top of one another, and it's either things that didn't happen, or things that are just like completely normal, or things that they just made up.
Well, they announced that they destroyed and deleted most of the evidence.
They say some of the evidence is still under review. I want to know what. Wait. I want to know about your perspective, Mr. President.
Wait, Kristen, they put out an announcement that they destroyed the evidence, and they destroyed all the stuff having to do with Nancy Pelosi, and they wouldn't let her testify. We said, why isn't she testifying? You know, it was a whole rigged deal. Why isn't she testifying? I offered them 10,000 soldiers. She turned them.
I want to know what
that
you
she's
did
in charge
on
of
that
security.
day. I want to know. You're the president of the United States, though.
She's in charge of security.
Tell me how you watched this all unfold. Were you in the dining room watching TV?
I'm not going to tell you. I'll tell people later at an appropriate time. Just so you understand, however.
What did you do when the Capitol was under attack, though?
Let me just tell you.
In the moment that the Capitol was under attack.
Did you see the statements I made in the Oval Office and just outside of the Oval Office?
Absolutely. I was there that day.
Our police are great. We love our police. We love everybody. Go home.
That was
a beautiful statement.
That was at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, more than
I don't know,
3 hours after the attack started.
But there were tweets that were put out before that.
I want to know who you called
By the way,
on that day.
Nancy Pelosi. Why would I tell you that? Listen, Nancy Pelosi was in charge of security. She turned down 10,000 soldiers. If she didn't turn down the soldiers.
This is my favorite argument because it's like, dog, what are the soldiers there for? Even that part is not true. But even if it was true, they're there to, like, what? Kill your fans that you brought to the White House? I mean, to the fucking Capitol? Like, what do you mean? Like, oh, Nancy Pelosi didn't want the soldiers to be there. Okay, it's like, one, you're the president. Two, these are your fans. Like, what do you want? On the one hand, you keep saying, January 6th was not that bad, and these are political prisoners. We need to release them. On the other hand, you're like, Nancy Pelosi should have let the fucking military kill them? Like, what? This doesn't make sense. None of it makes sense. He's trying to suggest that Antifa did a conspiracy and Nancy was on it. Okay, then why are fucking Trump supporters in jail? If it's just the Antifa that was thrown in fucking jail, why is he trying to get him out of jail? Make that make sense. Do you understand? Why is he trying to release his fans from fucking jail? This is the same idiotic fucking argument that doesn't make any sense when Republicans say Democrats are the real Confederacy, they're the real racists, while simultaneously being the fucking people that are like, you know, rocking the stars and bars while they go out to vote. It's so stupid. You have to be a fucking idiot to agree with this stuff. You have to be so stupid. And unfortunately, many are, okay? That's what's so sad.
Soldiers, you wouldn't have had January 6th.
Did you call military or law enforcement?
What?
Did you call military or law enforcement at the moment the Capitol was under attack?
I'm not going to tell you anything. Let me put it this way.
Bro's ignoring all the good right-wing arguments in the chat. Where are the good right-wing arguments in the chat? Please highlight them. I love... The reason why you're not banned is because we are so fucking desperate for like some actual good right-wing arguments lately. And it has not been a thing for a while. I miss it. Now, they were never good arguments, obviously. They were always bad arguments, but at least they were fun.
Behaved so well. I did such a good job. Nancy Pelosi turned down 10,000 soldiers.
I did such a good job. He's such a kid.
If she didn't do that.
But
and now
Nancy
I understand,
Pelosi doesn't have the authority that
the
you
police
have as
testified
commander in
against.
chief, though.
Listen to me, Kristen. Listen to me. I understand that the police testified against her, the chief very strongly against her, Capitol Police, great people. They testified against her, and they burned all the evidence. Okay, they burned all the evidence. They destroyed all the evidence about Nancy Pelosi.
What do you say?
Bro's entire... Man, just give me a fucking... Give me an argument. Give me an argument. Give me an argument. You're not. You're just like complaining. You're crying that I called people that believe that Democrats are the real party of fucking racists while simultaneously defending the Confederacy idiots. Yes, if you, cool guy from Missouri, believe in the message of heritage, not hate, and then simultaneously claim that the Democratic Party are still Dixiecrats and they're the real racist ones or whatever the fuck, then you're a dumbass. Like, if you advocate on the one side for the Republican Party and its inception in Abraham Lincoln's policies and then simultaneously defend the Confederacy, you're a fucking moron, okay? I'm sorry. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. I'm sick and tired of dumbass Americans who've been babied their whole fucking lives thinking that just because you came up with an opinion that it must mean... It must be valuable. It must mean something to everyone around us. So people must listen to your dumbass, inbred, hick, backwards fucking takes and go, actually, there's probably some utility to me hearing this, when in most circumstances, there isn't. Sometimes it's okay to just be a dumbass, inbred hick, for example, and your opinions might just be wrong and incorrect. Now, what you could do...
It's great.
It's
like
maybe
cities
stop
were
being a
burning
fucking
down.
Dumbass, okay?
When
You
my
can't stop
guys
being
did
inbred.
it at the
I don't
Capitol,
know if
very,
you are or
very
not.
respectfully,
You can't stop
they burned
those
it
other
down.
things, but at least you can
And
like
they got
hide the fact that you are those things and not be a fucking... Bro, I just saw someone that said, fuck Missouri, and I completely agree. Oh, my God, he's not... All right, we're done. We're done. Here, take a second off, okay? Anyway, my point was, you could be inbred, you could be stupid, but you can also be quiet and hide that you are like that. You know what I mean? Like, you could do that, but you don't want to do that. Most people just want to be heard. That's it.
To people who wonder why you as commander-in-chief, you have authorities that Nancy Pelosi doesn't have as commander-in-chief.
No, she has authority over
Why
the
didn't you
Capitol.
send help in that moment, though?
Frankly, just so you understand, I assumed that she took care of it. She turned down...
So when you realized that the National Guard wasn't coming?
Well, you don't realize anything until quite a while. National Guard not coming. I asked it to be there 3 days in advance, and she turned it down.
She says that request was never officially made.
Oh,
just
stop
so
it.
you know.
Let me just tell you.
Let me ask you
The
about
mayor of
pardons,
let me
Mr.
tell you.
President.
The mayor of D.C. gave us a letter saying that she turns it down. Okay, we have it. Nancy Pelosi also was asked, and she turned it down. The police commissioner
I'm talking
of
about
Capitol
the day
Police,
of,
wait a minute.
Yep.
Capitol Police said that he wanted it, and Nancy Pelosi wouldn't accept it. She's responsible for January 6th.
Mr. President.
Nancy Pelosi's responsible.
Mr. President,
and the
you're the
J6
president, though. You
refused to interview
You have
her.
authorities that no one else has as the commander-in-chief. Do you think you showed leadership on that day?
Yes, absolutely, I did.
Okay.
And I showed calm. Nancy Pelosi is responsible for the security, and she did a terrible job. And by the way, from what I understand, they burned all the evidence.
Okay. She says she never got an official request. They say they didn't, but that's what you're saying.
Really?
Let's talk about.
And her daughter taping her. Her daughter happened to be a documentary.
Let's talk about potential pardons.
Documentary worker just happened to be there taping her at the time.
Let's talk about potential pardons, because a lot of your supporters are wondering about that. Proud Boys leader Enrique Tarrio was sentenced to 22 years in jail. Now that you know what the sentence is, 22 years in jail, will you give him a pardon? Will you give other Proud Boys a pardon?
I don't know him. I never met him. I never heard of him until I started reading this stuff.
Will you pardon him?
But I want to tell you, he and other people have been treated horribly. Antifa killed people, and those guys didn't even get tried in many cases.
There's no
They put these guys in jail for 17, 18, and 22 years. They didn't kill anybody. Some of them never even went into the Capitol. Some of them weren't even in D.C., and they got a 22 or a 17-year sentence. 16, 18,
more than 1,000
15,
people.
22. Wait a minute. Yeah, 1,000 people. How many people, let me ask you this. How many people were charged for destroying Portland? How many people were charged for burning down the police precinct and the courthouse?
Will you pardon him, though? Will you pardon him?
In Minneapolis. I'd certainly look at it. I'd look at that, and I'd look at all the other people that have suffered, the J6 people.
Mr. President, let me ask you one final question, then let's move on to foreign policy.
That didn't even go into the building have suffered gravely. And you have to say one system of justice, right? You take a look.
But that's not. Bro, he always says one system of justice, and then literally will be like, and in that system of justice, the Republicans need to be pardoned and the Democrats need to be extra punished. It's the same principle behind, like, you can't prosecute me for withholding classified documents, but you should prosecute Joe Biden for having the classified documents that he immediately gave to the archives. Like, he didn't even fucking do anything. Like, he cooperated with the fucking authorities. Okay? Joe Brandon did. And you know who else did? Mike Pence, which Trump conveniently ignores in this situation. It's so sad that basically zero Democratic politicians have said anything about Stop Cop City protesters who are being charged with domestic terrorism right now by also the same state of Georgia under the same RICO charges, mind you. It is fucking unimaginable. It is insane. It is unjust. And yet, of course, there is no support for it. And
the city is in shambles to this day. The store owners don't even rebuild storefronts anymore. They put up 2x4s.
I want to move on to foreign policy, Mr. President.
But why do you do that? Why do you give me a horrible question and then you don't let me answer it? You're off to a bad start, I'm telling you.
Mr. President, I want to make sure we get to talk about foreign policy as well.
But I don't mind. I have all the time in the world.
You do? Okay.
I have all the time in the world. Why is it that the people, Antifa people, and very bad people that burned down Portland, burned down so much, New York City, what they did in New York City, and they were barely charged. And yet the people in Washington, in some cases, never even went into the building. They've been persecuted. They've been persecuted.
The people who were charged in January 6th, some of them were charged with sedition. Some of them were charged for violating the Capitol.
But many of these people have been persecuted.
Your supporters?
What they've done to them. And they didn't do this to the people that burned down. You take a look at Portland. It's like a burned down hulk of a city, including the federal courthouse.
Mr. President, if you were reelected, would you pardon yourself?
I could have pardoned myself. Do you know what? I was given an option to pardon myself. I could have pardoned myself when
the best part.
I left. People said, would you like to pardon yourself? I had a couple of attorneys that said, you can do it if you want. I had some people that said it would look bad if you do it, because I think it would look terrible. I said, here's the story. These people are thugs, horrible people, fascists, Marxists, sick people. They've been after me from the day I came down the escalator with Melania, and I did a great job as president.
For the record, the reason why he's not talking about the Kai Cenat situation is because, contrary to yet another instance where, like, a lot of people on subreddits specifically made it to be the worst possible thing that could have ever happened in the state of New York since 9/11, it was a blip on a fucking radar, and it went and passed by. Just like whenever people say, me saying cracker is the worst offense, the most racist thing on the entire planet, and it's just a blip that goes by. And that's it. That is just, this is another lesson in not thinking that, like, everything that you're seeing in your immediate orbit is actually the most significant, most prescient political debate that people have to fucking engage in. Okay? Yeah. It's always incredibly silly, incredibly stupid, and oftentimes you are made to believe that is a serious fucking subject matter that needs to be discussed. And it's not. And most normal people would never consider it. Weren't you banned? Yes, I was. And virtually everyone outside of the LSF circle, same with the Kai Cenat situation, same with, like, Walgreens are closing down because people are stealing nonstop. Okay? I remember some chatter saying you were the most racist person in the last 100 years. Yes, someone said, unironically, because I remember it's the greatest comment I've ever received, that I would be the most racist man in the 1900s, a time when Hitler was around. Why? Because I'm racist towards white people. And, you know, so that's like somehow worse than being racist to black people, apparently, according to that guy. That's not a chatter. That was Keem. No, Keem said I want bad things to happen to black people.
People are acknowledged. Great economy, great jobs, great this, great that. Rebuilt the military, Space Force, everything. I could go on forever. Let me just tell you. I said the last thing I'd ever do is give myself a pardon. I could have given myself a pardon. Don't ask me about what I would do. I could have, the last day, I could have had a pardon done that would have saved me all of these lawyers and all of these fake charges, these Biden indictments. They're all
They're still saying you'll be on the Nazi side because of your foreign policy takes. I don't know who they are, but that is pretty funny, especially because I suspect that those people are not USSR supporters in any capacity. So that's relatively odd. You know, anyone that says I'd be on the fucking Nazi side is you know, they deserve to go out the way that Nazis did. Let's be real. They basically said you were the white David Duke.
Biden indictments, political. They indicted. They want to arrest their political opponents. Only third world countries do that, banana republics. So, ready? I never said this to anybody. I was given the option. I could have done a pardon of myself. You know what I said? I have no interest in.
There's been a lot of recent revisionist history on Molotov-Ribbentrop and claimed the USSR and Nazi Germany were allies. Oh, that's a fucking classic trope. Well, good thing that didn't happen. You know what I mean? We all know that USSR shouldered the most significant burdens of killing Nazis, and we're better at killing Nazis overall. So,
Even thinking about it. I never even wanted to think about it, and I could have done it. And all of these questions you're asking me about the fake charges, you wouldn't be asking me because it's a very powerful thing for a president. I was told by some people that these are sick lunatics that I'm dealing with. Give yourself a pardon. Your life will be a lot easier. I said, I would never give myself a pardon.
Even if you were reelected in this moment?
Well, I think it's very unlikely. What did I do wrong? I didn't do anything wrong. You mean because I challenged an election, they want to put me in jail? I challenged an election, but I challenged a crooked election.
So it's not.
It was a rigged
radar
election.
Right now.
I challenged a rigged election. And now I'm going to win for a third time. I just hope they have better vote counters.
Let's move on to foreign policy. Mr. President. I want to talk about the war in Ukraine. I want to big picture get a sense of how you see this conflict. Do you see the security of Ukraine as critical to the security of the United States?
Okay, let me talk about it without interruption. Right? Ukraine would have never happened if I were president.
He's the GOAT, dude. Ukraine would have never happened if I was president, is what he keeps saying. Same with Afghanistan. I would have pulled out, and it would have been so much better. Okay? Ukraine would have never happened if I was president. It's like, it's always like, luckily he didn't have to be there, but if he were, it would have been solved. Okay?
If this election weren't rigged, Ukraine would have never happened. You would have hundreds of thousands of people, including lots of soldiers, still living. The cities would be flourishing, or at least up. These are cities that can never be rebuilt again, certainly not the way they were. Magnificent buildings, all ripped down like a demolition site. It would have never happened for two reasons. Number one, and most importantly, Putin has a lot of respect for me. And
bro, he's a MAGA communist. What he's saying is Vladimir Putin would have had no interest in Ukraine because I wouldn't have allowed NATO to be involved with Ukraine in a way that would like threaten him. That's why him and the MAGA communists are of one mind. He's pushing Z in that regard. Okay? That's what he's saying. Respect.
He wouldn't have played games, and I told him, don't ever go in, and he would never have gone in. This was only after I left that this happened. Likewise, President Xi.
I do wonder what would have happened if Trump was president during this situation, because like he still supported Ukraine, you know what I mean? And like, it's not like the State Department was operating at the behest of Donald Trump, you know what I mean? Like, he didn't really cover any of that shit. He didn't really give a fuck about that sort of thing. And like, I wonder what would have happened. I wonder what he would have said in retaliation. He would have given up Ukraine because they didn't give him dirt he wanted on Joe Biden? No, because, guys, no shot. Because ultimately, there is no way, because like if it's the military industrial complex's interest in Ukraine, then no fucking shot. Russia's aggression prior to Trump era benefiting Trump, no fucking shot would he have been able to stop like billions of dollars of weapons being sold and US dollars being used on both ends of that bargain to Ukraine. I don't think that it was like, in my opinion, America doesn't do things specifically because they care about good or evil, you know, bad or right. They do it because there's money to be made for those in our most important manufacturing business, the military-industrial complex. So ultimately, I think that if Putin was slated to invade Ukraine, I don't think Donald Trump could have made enough like assurances that he wasn't going to meddle in the affairs, and he still could have been like, he still could have been interested in it, and therefore Donald Trump could not have stopped arms from being sent into. Like a lot of people say, oh, Trump loves Russia, hates Ukraine, but like, no, I mean, it doesn't matter.
Would never, ever be talking about Taiwan the way he's talking about it right now. And they didn't.
How is he talking about Taiwan?
They weren't talking about it. It was only after I left. He would have never gone in. Equally as.
So when people hear Trump say this, like, do they, like when liberals who are like, defend Taiwan liberals who are like, America's interest in Taiwan are honest and earnest and they just want independence for the Taiwanese people. Like, when they hear Donald Trump, do they go, oh yeah. And we think that's why we're voting for Trump, because he's going to be real fucking aggressive. Is that how that goes?
As importantly, oil prices would have been at $40 a barrel instead of $110 a barrel. so he wouldn't have been able to afford going in. He actually is the only nation that made money because oil has been driven up so high by stupid people like Biden. Biden is an incompetent man. And what happened is oil. In fact, you're going to hit a new high very soon again. That means Russia. Russia makes money from oil. Russia is going to make a lot of money. And because they're making a lot of money, there's no reason for them to settle other than humanitarian reasons. And let's not assume people are going to be so humanitarian. So Putin would have never gone in because oil was at $40 a barrel, and he wouldn't have been able to afford to have gone in. At $100 a barrel, he made a fortune. And that's one reason. The other reason he wouldn't have gone in is because I said, don't go in. Don't even think about it.
Just to that key question, though, Mr. President, do you think that our security, the United States security, is linked to Ukraine's security?
I think that Europe has to do more. We're in for $200 billion. They're in for $25 billion. And it affects them more than it affects us. It certainly affects them much more than it affects us.
So you do think that it's linked in some way?
I think Europe is taking advantage of a stupid president.
You've probably...
Look, Biden should say to them, you have to equalize. You have to catch up. You know, Europe is about the same size as our economy if you add them all up, add the countries up. It's about the same size. And Biden should say...
It's also funny because, like, he criticizes Joe Biden for using the reserves, which Trump correctly did, try to buy a shit ton of oil at like super low prices to really beef up our reserves, right? And of course, Congress said no to him, which is why it's always weird when he claims he actually increased our oil reserves, because he never did it. He wanted to do it, and the Democrats and I guess some Republicans maybe stopped him from doing so when oil was like basically fucking freemium. Okay, it was free 99. And so that was like a weird thing that he talks about. Except Biden then used up the reserves, okay? And he's complaining about that too. And it's like, why are you complaining about Biden using the reserves? How would you have made oil prices low? How would you have done it then? Like, what are you supposed to do? Is there like a fucking oil price zero button? I don't get it. Because at the time, there were certain things that Biden could have done that he didn't do, which was, of course, pressure and threaten the oil corporations who openly stated that they are only interested in their shareholder value and that they are not interested in the broader American population's economic woes, and therefore they would not increase supply. They said that openly. We covered it at the time. So my frustration with Brandon at that time was to say, okay, then fuck you. I'm sending the fucking IRS after you. I am sending the regulatory bodies after you. I'm sending the fucking EPA after. I'm going to do everything I can. If you don't want to fucking increase supply, then fuck you. Okay, I'm going to put a mountain of red tape in front of you. He didn't do that, right? So the only other option was to use the reserves to try and like adjust the price, which didn't really work out all that well. He also went to Saudi Arabia and like talked to MBS, and that didn't work out that well either. I mean, I guess it's worked out a little bit better. But like, what could have Trump done? What was he going to do? Like, what is Trump supposed to do better in that situation? Especially if he's also criticizing Biden using oil reserves. Like, what is Trump going to do? He's not going to do shit. You think Trump is going to fucking talk shit about the oil and gas industry? Get the fuck out of here. He's a Republican. No shot.
Say to them, like I did with NATO. You know, NATO, they all owed money. I said, get your money in. And we had over $430 billion put in almost immediately. And the head of NATO, Stoltenberg, Secretary General, nice guy, he said to me, most amazing thing I've ever done. And he said it publicly, too. He said, Bush would come in, make a speech and leave. Obama would come in, make a speech and leave. Trump came in and said, you guys aren't paying your bills. And I got him to pay. You know, they asked me something, which hasn't been reported, but the media knows it. We had a meeting of the 28 countries, at that time, 28 countries. And they said to me, are you saying, sir, because I said you got to pay your bills, are you saying, sir, that you won't...
He's like, I'm the most pro-NATO president of all time.
...protect us against Russia if we don't pay? I said, sorry to tell you, that's what I'm saying. You know what happened?
Yeah.
they started sending us money and I was never given credit for it, but you wouldn't even have a NATO if it wasn't for me.
Let me ask you,
but here's the thing,
about
the
your
European
strategy.
countries have to start paying their share because we are having to do with Ukraine, because we're at 200 billion and they're at 20 or 25 billion. It's so unfair.
Let me ask you about your strategy, though, because you have said you want to end this war in 24 hours. You saw the meeting between Kim Jong-un and President Putin. Do you think that complicates your strategy if you were reelected to try to end this war in 24 hours?
It would have been easier if the war didn't start and you'd have hundreds of thousands of people living, most importantly. But it would have been a lot easier if it didn't. But I can get it done, and I can get it done quickly.
How do you do it?
There's another example. You talk about Kim Jong.
You
talk about Kim Jong-un, right? Mm-hmm. I got along great with Kim Jong-un after the first month or two when we were sparring, but I got along great with him. We were in no danger. There was President Biden said, and he felt even now, and President Obama told me when we sat down. Obama told me, and Biden still to this day, except I don't think he knows he can't put two sentences together. But President Obama told me, our biggest threat is from North Korea. We're going to end up in a war. We didn't end up with a war with North Korea. We were going to make a deal. I would say I would have had a deal made with North Korea shortly after the election, had the election not been rigged.
How do you end this war, though, talking of deals? How do you end this war in 24 hours?
I can't tell you exactly, because if I did, people understand. If I tell you exactly, I lose all my bargaining chips. I mean, you can't really say exactly what you're going to do, but I would say certain things to Putin. I would say certain things to Zelensky, both of whom I get along. Don't forget, Zelensky did something that was very honorable. They asked him, it didn't stop these animals from impeaching me, but, one of those things. They asked him, did Trump do anything wrong? He said, absolutely not. It was a very normal phone call. You can't say that about Biden's call because...
Wait, what? Yeah, first of all, he can't say anything. You're the president, and you've already threatened to withdraw support. Like military support. What's he supposed to say? It's a fucking client state, dude. This is why it's always funny when people are like, Hasan, what about the autonomy of Ukraine? It's like, bro, what do you mean? Like, in a conversation where we're doing like American interests versus Ukrainian interests, like Ukrainian interests are not even on the table. Like, no one cares about that on the American side. I know that's hard to hear, but if Americans cared about the Ukrainian interests, they would have instituted a no-fly zone like Ukraine has asked for. If Americans cared about the Ukrainian lives, they would have allowed Ukraine into NATO before they allowed, Sweden and Finland into NATO, right? Like the Ukrainians have asked for. It's just Americans don't give a shit. Like the American government doesn't give a shit about Ukrainian lives or Ukrainian interests. But a lot of that stuff, everybody kind of understands. Americans have also time and time again, or at least people in the American government, have also time and time again regularly stated that they think it's a great fucking thing that is happening in Ukraine, where for 5% of the military budget, they've been able to undermine a foreign adversary of strategic importance, Russia, and their entire military power by just spending 5% of the American military budget. This is not my sentiment. This is Chris Murphy, Connecticut. Like he said that. You know what I mean? They openly state it. They openly state it all the time. They think it's a fucking great situation that they will fight. They will fight down to every last Ukrainian. So yeah. Forgive me if I don't believe that the American government's interests in Ukraine are genuine and that Ukraine's interests and the Ukrainian leadership's interests are completely secondary to the conversation, which is why Zelensky will say things like, oh no, at the top of the hour, there isn't a 3-minute ad break. If you no longer want to see those ads, you don't have to subscribe, which he'd be wrong on. You do have to subscribe at the top of the hour because there is a 3-minute ad break. And if you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe. Bad take. Why would NATO put Ukraine in when they're at war? That would mean NATO is immediately at war. First of all, there were many years where the West claimed that they were going to give Ukraine NATO membership, and they never really were interested in doing so. Okay? I hate that people come in here and try to explain to me what the situation is when the majority of Ukrainians wanted Article 5. The majority of Ukrainians wanted a no-fly zone. The majority of Americans wanted a no-fly zone. At the time, I obviously explained to you why it wasn't going to happen. because it would have been devastating. It would have been actual fucking hot war between two nation states with nukes. Okay? Don't try to explain it again to me. I know. Motherfucker acted like Ukraine applied during the war. What do you mean? Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. It's not like Ukraine was like, oh, yeah, let's fucking join NATO now that there's war happening. Like, no, they were asking. They were asking for a very long time. But yeah, let's keep going.
Biden, what he did was horrible with the prosecutor, but he said something that was very honorable. He could have grandstanded and said, oh, I felt threatened. He said that President Trump did absolutely nothing wrong on the phone call.
Some people hear you say you're going to end the war in 24 hours, and they worry that means President Putin is going to get to keep the territory he's unlawfully
I'd make a fair
claimed.
deal for everybody. Nope.
Doesn't mean that? Wouldn't be a win for Putin?
You know, that's something that could have been negotiated because there were certain parts, Crimea and other parts of the country, that a lot of people expected could happen. You could have made a deal. So they could have made a deal where there's less territory right now than Russia's already taken, to be honest. And you could have made a deal where nobody was killed. They had a deal. They would have had a Ukraine country. Now nobody even knows if Ukraine is going to be totally taken over. I will say this. Something's going on, and it's not good for Ukraine because the news is no longer reporting about the war, the fake news. They don't report about the war anymore. You don't find much reporting. That means that Ukraine's losing. Okay. I see very little reporting from NBC, your network. I see very little reporting from NBC, ABC, from CBS, from anyone about the war. It used to be you'd go and you'd watch, even a couple of months ago, you'd watch all of this great strategy. The spring offensive never happened. Ukraine's spring offensive never happened because they were met with a wall of armaments and bombs.
President Putin's worried people are losing interest. President Zelensky's worried that people are losing interest in this war. As you're saying,
no, I'm just saying, I'm not seeing anything about the war anymore. To me, that means that probably because the press is fake and very discredited, that would mean that, look, here's my attitude on the.
I'm going to tell you right now, dude, the Ukraine shit on the Democratic side, if they try to make like, God, I've said this a couple months ago, and every single time I hear Donald Trump talk about this issue, okay, every single time I hear him talk about this issue, I'm terrified that the Democrats are just going to like throw the abortion conversation away. They're going to throw it in the trash. They're not going to do another like student loan debt relief thing right before the election to really revitalize support. And that they're just going to be like, vote for us because we want to defend Ukraine more than the Republicans do. And if that's the case, like, Trump is going to win, okay? I'm so terrified of that prospect. Like, I don't know. At that point, you have to be throwing on purpose. They won't. They're going to be like, abortion rights and Republicans hate books. Yes, I hope, because that is a winning message. Foreign policy is one of the least important things. There's no way they would give attention from abortion. They get more donations from abortion. I know, but like, I don't know. They've done really dumb shit.
The war. I just want people to stop being killed. You know, I was asked by that ridiculous CNN group during my town hall, whose side are you on? I said, I'm on the side of people stop being killed. I don't want to see people killed. They're being killed by the thousands and thousands and thousands. And that's the side I'm on. I don't want, and you know what? People like that answer, to be honest. And I stay with that same answer. I want people to stop being killed.
I want to ask you about something President Putin said about you this week. I don't know if you've seen it. This was very recent. President Putin said, quote, "We surely hear that Mr. Trump says he will resolve all burning issues within several days."
This is a winning message, lies aside. Yes. And that's why the media keeps hammering him on it. And it's very fucking annoying.
Including the Ukrainian crisis. We cannot help but feel happy about it. What do you make of that? Do you welcome his support?
I like that he said that because that means what I'm saying is right. I would get him into a room, I'd get Zelensky into a room, then I'd bring them together and I'd have a deal worked out. I would get it.
I don't think the Ukrainians would agree on what? Bro, who gives a fuck? We're talking about voting in the American elections. Like, what do you mean? Exactly. Okay, great. Like, that is completely irrelevant to the conversation. Like, what? Yeah, Ukrainians don't vote in the American elections. Like, what do you mean? Maybe I misunderstood what he was responding to. But if you're responding to, like, you know, the American elections and like being the Democratic Party cutting a message about like how much more they're going to protect Ukraine instead of the Republican Party, that's like the easiest way to fucking easiest way to lose the election. You know what I mean?
The deal worked out. It would have been a lot easier before it started. Essentially, for 4 years, I kept them from doing anything because, you know.
Oh, unless you're talking about Ukrainians won't agree to a deal with Russia. I think that Ukrainians would agree to a deal with Russia if America was the one pressuring them to do the deal, 100%. And if Zelensky was scared of the outside pressure that he was getting from other more nationalist elements in the country, then they would replace him. At this point, Ukraine, understandably, is entirely in the Western sphere of influence. It's over. Any kind of interest that Russia had in implementing like soft power or instituting like or putting in pro-Russian politicians in Ukrainian government, all of that's gone. Why is it gone? Because he's a fucking idiot and he invaded Ukraine and basically killed half of the people that fucking would have maybe been favorable towards Russia on the eastern front of Ukraine that he fucking invaded. Okay? So it's just completely Jover on that front. But having said that, it doesn't matter. If America was like tomorrow, if America was like, Ukraine, you need to stop, especially now that there is no Russian sphere of influence and no genuine way that like Putin could exercise his authority over Ukrainians without the threat of state violence. There's no way. Like, Ukraine is entirely in the hands of the Western sphere of influence, and therefore whatever America says goes.
You know what? I will tell you this. I've never said this. Ukraine was the apple of his eye. I said, don't ever do it. Don't ever do it. He would have never done it. But again, oil prices. He wouldn't have done it because of me, but oil prices. The prices were so high that he had so much money.
Do you think it's unacceptable to support China or Vietnam given how LGBT people are treated there? This is a good one, Chatter.
Money. So he had all this money to prosecute the war. The one who drove up the prices was Biden.
Given that President Putin has bombed maternity wards, 20,000 kids kidnapped from Ukraine by Russia, mass graves. Yeah. Do you
see? There you go. And this is how you know Trump is at least a better reader of the room than the dumbass like pushing Z MAGA communists online who are like, that's all fake news, actually. Okay? Even the guy who everyone says loves Vladimir Putin is at least smart enough not to be like, no, those maternity wards I saw. Steven Seagal went there. Love him, folks. Have you seen him? Big Aikido guy, Steven Seagal. He went there. He said there were no babies in the maternity wards. Okay? No babies whatsoever. He said, actually, the babies that were there were bad babies. Some of these babies, they got bad vibes, folks. You know? Even he knows not to fucking say dumbass shit. So you believe Putin called the strikes on maternity wards on purpose? What? It doesn't have to be on purpose, dumbass. What do you mean? Okay. Do you believe Obama fucking bombed the hospital in Kunduz on purpose? Like it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's the fucking wrong target. Here's a really great way to not do that. Don't fucking invade Ukraine, or don't fucking bomb Kunduz in general. You know? What do you mean? What is the position that you have? That it's okay if it's on accident? If Russia does it? Like, what kind of fucking freak shit is this?
welcome his support, his all but endorsement?
I agree with you. I just want to see how you would convince someone who thinks that way, because it's pretty popular among, in parentheses, leftists. I agree with you on what front? I don't think you agree with me. I don't give a shit about like a military intervention in foreign nations, given how LGBT people are treated there. Okay? That is insane, because I know for a fact that military intervention in countries that have reactionary policies tend to make that country way fucking worse after said military intervention. Look at Iran if you want to get a better understanding of how this shit works. Okay? Also, it's not like America has a great track record of aligning itself with people who are totally fucking pro LGBT. Saudi Arabia is one of our greatest allies. Also, what are we doing? Are we going to bomb Florida? Are we going to fucking bomb Florida, chatter? When are we bombing Florida or Tennessee? Like, how about you fucking try to fix America first before, contemplating what kind of intervention we can engage in with Vietnam or whatever the fuck, because you feel like they're not doing enough for LGBT rights. Fix Florida, motherfucker. Okay? Fix the red states where abortion is illegal. Okay?
Look, I had a very good relationship with him, and yet nobody was tougher on Russia than me. I stopped Nord Stream 2. You never heard of Nord.
He's right. He did stop Nord Stream 2, which is very weird. He did. Biden bombed it, though, so he still wins on that front. Biden blew it up. He stopped it. Biden put it to a permanent end.
Nord Stream 2. That was the pipeline until I got involved. I said Nord Stream 2, people that were sophisticated, military people and political people, never heard of Nord Stream 2. I had it ended. The pipeline was dead. Biden came in and he approved it. There was nobody tougher than...
Just so he could blow it up. Just so he could blow it up. So he could demoralize his opposition. J.D. Joe making the Hitlerite Germans freeze. Joe said permanent first world genocide. Yeah. He said Americans living in the imperial core. I'll show you what labor aristocracy means. Get back to work, Jack. Oh, yeah? You're going to feel like an Indonesian child working in a factory but doesn't have enough money to afford the shoelaces that he's putting in the Nike shoes. American workers are going to feel that pain that the Indonesian child feels. How about 34% inflation? Hitlerite Germany is going to freeze. We're gonna stop that Russian gas coming into Hitlerite Germany. Get back to work, Jack. Bidenflation is gonna make you hurt.
Than me with Russia, and yet I got along with Putin. Let me tell you, I got along with him really well, and that's a good thing, not a bad thing. He's got 1,700 nuclear missiles, and so do we. But look, that's a good thing. Getting along is okay, but I got along through strength. And the war would have never happened. The war would have never happened. Now what's happened, it's so bad. The oil price is so high. It's hard to get it stopped. The oil price is so high. When he goes above $50 and $60 a barrel, he makes a lot of money on the war. Now, it's a humanitarian thing. It's a lot of different reasons. But I will get that war stopped very, very quickly.
I want to talk about another region that you talked about. Let's talk about another region you talked about, China.
Ooh.
If you were to cut a deal between President Putin and President Zelensky, do you run the risk of emboldening China to invade Taiwan?
No, not at all. Because China, he's another one I got along to.
Dude, the media is so nutty, dude. God, I'm sorry. I know I'm the worst guy to talk about this because obviously I'm pro Vladimir Putin, according to many liberals online, and of course pro Supreme Leader Xi to many people. But like, why is the NBC news person on the side of like American intervention and promoting American jingoistic militarism on the fucking Meet the Press exclusive when talking to the reactionary alternative? Okay? That's fucking nuts. She's literally like, do you think a peace negotiation with Ukraine would embolden China to take over Taiwan? How does that not literally fucking break your brain? Always been like this? Yes. Always been like this. And it's especially fucking idiotic when, when thinking about like Blinken going to China and being like, Taiwan is a part of China. It's just we care about its autonomy and we're going to keep giving it military support. Like they're making it seem a different way than it actually is. You know what I mean? They don't even talk about that aspect of it. They rarely even cover that aspect of it so that, you just don't know and you're shocked. That's why I remember when Blinken came out and everyone was like, all the fucking NATO antis were canceling Blinken after.
I don't even talk about it because once COVID came in, it was like, I didn't want to talk about anything. I was a much different person. What happened to this world, not our country, the whole world, what happened with COVID, and it just shouldn't.
So why are the military-industrial complex's interests directly undermining U.S. foreign policy towards China? Oh, make no mistake. I don't think the U.S. foreign policy towards China is one that, okay. I don't think the U.S. foreign policy towards China, like the way that Blinken is representing it there, is the same as how they're actually acting. Yes, the United States has what they call strategic ambiguity, which is, to the layman, lying. That's what they do. They are like, oh, we think that it's one China. Taiwan is a part of China, Chinese Taipei, but also they keep giving money and support and weapons to Taiwan. It's just simply that they no longer recognize the entirety of mainland China as belonging to Taiwan and the Taiwanese government being the true ruler of China in the way that it was originally designed in its inception. That's simply what it is. That's it. Strategic ambiguity. So technically, I think that there are more powerful economic forces and interests at play with our relation with China that you cannot simply disrupt due to the interests of more reactionary elements that are aching for war. But that's, it's just, that doesn't mean that the American State Department is pro-China by any means.
It shouldn't have happened. What China did to the world was so bad. But I had a great relationship with President Xi. Really great relationship. And he was going to stop fentanyl from coming in. He was going to do he was going to criminalize it if you made it. In China, they have a death penalty for drug dealers. He was going to make that with fentanyl dealers too.
I love that he loves China, but in like the bad sides of China. Like whenever Trump is glazing up Xi Jinping, he never talks about the good shit like I do, like the death penalty for, I don't know, people who are willingly selling spoiled baby formula. You know what I mean? That killed babies. Like that's sick. Okay? Killing the corrupt politicians that also facilitated and turned the other cheek or turned a blind eye to like that continuing to happen. Like that's awesome. I'm a fan of that. Please, let's do that here in America. At least jail time. You know what I mean? Or when the Evergreen shit was happening, the CEOs or the corporate board decided that like all the workers had to basically give money back so they could put together funds in order to put a down payment on their debt to show that they were taking this seriously. And then the Chinese government intervened and said, no, you're actually liquidating your fucking yachts and all of your assets, and we're actually taking all of your money instead and putting that as a down payment on the debt that you owe to the government. And that was sick. Like, that was a cool thing that China did. Or, I don't know, building insane amounts of fucking high-speed rail, even development. These are all good things that China has done and will continue to do. Not the execution of drug dealers.
But then the election didn't work out, and he never had to do that.
I know you've been asked this, but very quickly, if China were to invade Taiwan, have you made a determination, again, since voters are about to go to the polls, would you send the U.S. military into Taiwan if President Xi were to invade? President Biden says he would.
I won't say, because if I said, I'm giving away, only stupid.
I love you when he does this. I won't say. I'm not giving it away. I'm not giving the game away. Shh. Dude, I love that. It's so good.
People are going to give that answer. I heard the other day DeSanctimonious said something about he was going to do this or he was going to do that. I say, well, why is he saying the strategy? You can't say that. So when you ask me that question, I would never say that because you give away all your options.
But you don't take it off the table.
I don't take anything off the table, no.
If elected, you say you would order the Defense Department to use special forces to inflict maximum damage on drug cartels.
No. People said I said that.
Okay, what would you do?
I didn't say that.
What would you do?
I wouldn't tell you what I'd do. Why would I say that? Because, again, you don't want people to know your strategy. Now, people said they leaked and said things that I said this or I said that or I was going to hit them with Patriot missiles, the drug dealers. And
it's pretty funny to be like, I don't want to disclose military secrets to our foreign adversaries. And then he was just like loudly yelling classified information at the fucking Mar-a-Lago
if you look at all
buffet.
Of the statistics, all of the votes,
and
they say,
and it was at a time when we all knew that like
votes,
there were literal Chinese spies there. Because
votes.
why the fuck wouldn't you send a spy
when they do Twitter files
to sit next to Donald Trump
51
when you know his ass
intelligence
is blabbing on?
Out and lie that
I mean, fucking
the laptop
Kid Rock
from hell
saw like the
was
Iranian
Russia
military
disinformation.
maps.
And
Dude.
now,
Get the fuck out of here. This is like I won't tell you. I won't tell you. It's a secret. It's like, what secret, dog? You fucking told Kid Rock. Kid Child Diddler Rock. Okay. Okay. He tweeted out before unseen spy satellite capabilities, the flags. I respect it.
Mexico, but I will say, and horribly, that they kill 250,000 people in the United States every year. You know, you never hear that number. You hear 100,000. I think it's much more. They destroy families because when you lose a son or a daughter to fentanyl, or a wife or anybody else, but when you lose a...
By the way, I'm not like here. Mar-a-Lago, a magnet for spies. Officials warn after nuclear file reportedly found. Former intelligence chiefs say national security officials are shaking their heads at what damage might have been done. At that point, it's like, it's your responsibility to send agents there, okay? I'm sorry. It's fucking ridiculous. Like, it's just free information. Why wouldn't you do that? Why? Like, what the fuck?
A son or daughter, your life is destroyed. Their lives are destroyed. They've destroyed so many families. It comes through Mexico. Mm-hmm. Something's got to be done. If we were in war, we would lose 250,000 people. We're losing more people than you lose in just about any war that we've ever had. And we lose them on a yearly basis. Something has to be done, and it has to be done fairly quickly.
Ron DeSantis says he's in this race to finish the border wall. What do you say to that?
Well, I built 500 miles of border wall. It was great. It was just what as you know, the Border Control Board and everybody else, Border Patrol. I had them in my office. We were going to do concrete plank, 40 feet high. They didn't want that. They wanted you see-through. They wanted to be steel, concrete, and rebar. I did everything. I gave them the wall that they wanted. You know, we tested it. We had mountain climbers test the ones that's the wall we built. I built almost 500 miles of wall. We were then going to build another 200 miles of certain areas that all of a sudden people were coming into areas that they couldn't come into anymore. And we were all set to do that. It was all bought. And all Obama had to do, all Biden had to do, it could be Obama, too, because a lot of people think he's calling the shot, so who knows. But all Biden had to do is go out and put it up. And he not only didn't put it up, he took it off the site, and they put it in yards hundreds of miles away so that Texas and Arizona couldn't get it. I had the safest border in history. I had the best border in history. We had the lowest drug numbers for years and years and years, decades. We had the lowest drug numbers. We had the lowest human trafficking numbers. We had the least number of people coming across. All he had to do was go to the beach like he does all the time. If he went to the beach and didn't do anything, we'd have a great border right now.
Final question, Mr. President. You have met with prime ministers, kings, queens, dictators. You've seen it all. As you think about the possibility of a second term, do you still think that democracy is the most effective form of government?
I do. I do, but it has to be a democracy that's fair. This democracy is, I don't consider us to have much of a democracy right now. They indict their political opponent. Free speech is shot because the press is very dishonest. Very dishonest, I have to say. Even the way you fight me on simple questions like, you know, the border and this, you fight me so much. And I'm saying, why are you fighting me? Do you know, when I first ran, the approval rating of the media was very high. And now it's very low. It may be below Congress, which is pretty hard to believe. People understand what's going on. We need a media that's free and fair. And frankly, if they don't have that, it's very, very hard to straighten out our country.
Did you feel as president you had enough power, though? If you were reelected, would you try to find ways? For example, there's a report you're looking into firing potentially people within the federal government who aren't necessarily perceived to be loyal. Would you need more power? Do you think?
Just so you understand, that's what the Democrats do, okay? They do it in spades.
Would you do that?
They do it at a level that you wouldn't believe. I mean, nobody's ever done. No, I wouldn't do that. I want great people, whether they're Republican or Democrat. I want great people. But I want people that love our country, not people that hate our country.
Anything else you'd like to say?
No, I think that's good. I think we did.
We did a lot. Is there any scenario by which, because Ron DeSantis says if he were elected, he'd have 2 terms and you'd only have 1 more term. Is there any scenario by which you would seek a 3rd term in office?
No. Just so you understand, when DeSantis says that, that means he's not your man. He's not your man anyway because he's a very untalented guy, and he's proven that. He started out, everybody was talking to him. After I worked him over a little bit, he's gone down the tubes. I don't think he's going to end up being number 3 or 4. He just had a poll today. He was number 4. And by the way, the one that was number 2 was 59 points behind. So, you know, it's very interesting. But when somebody says 8 years, we need 8 years, no. In 6 months to a year, many of the problems, almost all of the problems that you and I have just spoken about will be solved. Anybody that says they need 8 years, you don't want that person.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
That's crazy. I mean, fuck you. The shaking his hands after all that. God, I hate the media. Fuck the media. Is Mark safe in the 4-hour Donald Trump meet press react of 2023? Okay, I'm sorry. I know it took me 4 hours, but it was very valuable to go through all of this, okay? It's pretty ridiculous. It's pretty fucking ridiculous not to cover this. 07 to all the troopers who stayed through this entire video. What do you want me to do? Not fucking mauled when Donald Trump goes on Meet the Press, one of the, you know, a pretty significant, fairly important, you know, news